name's Elijah Schaefer. Welcome back to The Rift, live Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 7 p.m., although our time might be changing. Don't forget that this show has been presented by Uncensored.ai, a new technology that we'll talk about in a moment. But if you go to my screen here, Netflix loses market cap of $15.1 billion. Isn't that crazy? $15.1 billion. Almost as much as we've sent to a foreign country overseas to launch a couple rockets one night out of the 7. It's kind of a crazy world we live in where we talk about billions and trillions, but the average person can't even afford rent. Speaking of the devil, and it's probably because I don't pay them enough, joining me today is our RiftTV.com contributor, Braden Sorbo. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, that it is good. We get paid in like affection and handshakes and stuff. It builds character.
Absolutely.
And then eventually getting ourselves in the intro.
Yeah, okay, eventually. Don't worry. With like with everything here,
I know.
It will eventually happen. You're like the ex-wife. It's like, yeah, it'd be nice if you still made more for that child support. You're like, yeah, thanks for letting me know. Of course, and joining me over on the other side of the room is Rift TV contributor and producer Michael Hennessy of Snowflake News. Welcome back.
Hey, happy to be here. I didn't even know we got paid in affection. I don't get paid anything. So most of the time it's just he's cuddling with Mike. So I guess I was left out of that.
Yeah, sorry.
Not
everyone can be part of the triangle.
I don't even have to pay for that. All right, so let's talk about a little update, guys. Just got back in the studio. You guys have noticed we've been traveling for quite a bit. We don't have to play this video here, but if you see right here, Sarah Stock and I spoke at Ole Miss. Yes, it's a little crazy setup, but looking at my friend here, Hennessy, and let's just say our camera equipment disappeared. It met some doctors and engineers. It did. It met some doctors and engineers who have decided to keep our camera equipment, about 10 grand worth of camera equipment, and they've decided they were going to keep it. So unfortunately, while it was around their proximity, they can't find it, even though it was in their possession. And so, of course, we've lost that. I remember Mike isn't on here. You guys, you and your wife, you guys had lost some camera equipment as well inside of those great doctor and engineer headquarters during surgery. It seems to happen a lot. Am I right?
Yeah, well, by the way, that was American Airlines, too. That wasn't even like Spirit Airlines. So wasn't even those types of doctors and engineers, but, the best and brightest of society nonetheless.
Yeah, and of course, just in case you guys want to know, this Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we're continuing our We Won't Shut Up tour going on at University of Florida, where I hear there's a lot of more doctors and engineers as well in that area. We're going to be talking... We're going to be talking about whatever we're going to be talking about, but that's about 9 p.m. at the Rights Union 2365, and you just showed me this right before we started, actually. It's kind of interesting. I was like wondering if people were excited for us to memorialize Charlie, who was murdered, by the way. Later in the show, we have Dinesh D'Souza joining us. But the college Republicans right here, UF College Republicans just uploaded this, showing that our flyers have already been ripped up. Unfortunately, they got me out of this one. And then out of this one, they just tried. They didn't even do a good job.
No, they suck.
They didn't even do a good job at ripping it down. It's like, this is like one of those transition surgeries where they just put on like lipstick, but it looks like a fat guy steal with lipstick on.
Yeah.
They don't even try. I think this one, we have one more too this one was pretty, these people did not like you.
No, they really took me out of it. That's crazy.
It's like my dream life right there. Existing in peace without you.
So true.
No, but
you and my parents.
that's to be said. I just wanted to bring that up, that we are speaking, and it is kind of crazy because the tour is presented by Uncensored.ai, and unironically, as Larry Ellison took control of TikTok, we're going to get into our top story today about Netflix, what's going on here. But Uncensored.ai was censored on X. They were taken down, and I asked Grok why they were taken down. You'll never believe why they were taken down. Why was Uncensored AI taken down? I'll give you a guess, Mr. Hennessy.
If anything to do with a foreign country, but I'm not sure why. Why were they taken down?
Antisepticism.
Antiseptics. Back to the foreign country. I knew I had to do something with that, but I wasn't sure.
A foreign invasion of mold and bacteria.
I was going to say, a big
antiseptic
system.
Yeah.
It's an antiseptic tech. No, it literally said that their AI wasn't trained on modules to protect Semites, and so it could lead to offense of Semitic people. So even though it's about the truth could be offensive, which is quite an interesting topic. Our top story today is quite interesting. Like I mentioned, we have two guests today. One of our guests is Dinesh D'Souza, who has a new movie coming out. He'll be on in the second half, or the second part of the first half. And then after that, we'll take a break. And then Sulaiman Ahmed So we got I think Dinesh is Christian, right?
Yeah.
Got a Christian Indian. Then we got a Arab Muslim coming on. What's going on here? The next thing you know, we're gonna have half Jewish people on our show. That's gonna be crazy.
They just both need to become Catholic. Why are you looking at me?
Okay.
What's up with that?
No.
Oh, we're not disclosing that. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, they don't tell you it when they apply. Let me go ahead and hey, Mike, if you can go into my X as well, and if you can give Sulaiman your number so we can call you when he's here and get in. But let's just jump into the story for today, because guys, as much as it seems kind of stupid, we actually kind of do have a little bit of power. I brought up this story here, which is quite interesting. And, Netflix, I'm going to play a little bit more of this, has been caught playing some very interesting games, and they're not squid ones.
No.
No, these are games of sexually abusing children, which is what this is, right? This is the essay of children. This is the digital assault of children, okay? If I could be Me Too'd for looking at you wrong, then my kids can be violated for you putting the wrong things in front of their eyes.
And not even just putting the wrong thing in front of their eyes. I mean, they also had the other thing. What was this show? It was Cuties or something like that, where they had the little kids dancing.
Yeah.
So Netflix already has a history of putting the most craziest things online. It relates to pedophilia with that. Here with the abuse of children, watching their,
You see this? Look at this.
indoctrination.
Okay, so when I was a kid, I remember maybe a cartoon character would be in their underwear or something, and your parents would get mad. Do you remember that? Like, it'd be like, well, maybe you don't remember them getting mad, but at least you remember, right?
That was 80s, baby. We've seen a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but it's true. But still, it was like, they're sleeping in the same bed or something like that. But now you got literal transgender fruits, and we're not just talking about the people. It's like actual trans berries.
Trans berries.
I've heard of goji berries, red berries, blueberries, blackberries, dragonberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we have transberries. Speaking of that, I did want to remind you guys something awesome. Check this out. Starting today, we're gonna get into all the ways that Netflix is losing money, and I'm so shocked because who would think that literally putting sexually degenerate kinks from odd sexual fetishes in front of the eyes of like 5 and 6 year olds would make people want to cancel their memberships. I'm also convinced that Netflix has nothing good. That the reason why more people didn't cancel is because people didn't realize they have a membership. I found out that I have a membership to Netflix Australia, of which I don't know how to cancel. Okay, so that's how bad things are.
You can't even go to Australia to cancel it in person.
I can't even cancel it. Do you know that they have my bond? They have my security deposit still for my apartment. I'm not allowed to go pick it up, and they're holding it in the bank. That being said, my family's there. It's crazy. I want to talk to you about a new sponsor today, guys. Blackout Coffee right here is a family-owned powerhouse that captures the essence of the American grit. So we've been really looking for a coffee company to partner with that actually stands for our values, that actually tastes good. Because, I was at the store the other day, and I was, Mississippi is so crazy. I was in Mississippi at Ole Miss, and, the guys got drunk and, pulled out, a 45, started shooting. They took their microwave outside, started, shooting in the front yard, things you can't do in other states other than Mississippi. I'm all for it. But then, there's that whole, Black Rifle Coffee thing where, we're mad and we shoot things. And then they're gay.
Yeah, they went totally liberal.
Yeah,
they donate
went
to
liberal.
Black
They're
Blue or
gay.
whatever.
They're absolutely gay. And they're the ones who canceled a multi-$100,000 contract with myself because I supported Kyle Rittenhouse. What losers? Well, guess what? Starting in a humble garage 7 years ago, now boasting over 32,000 5-star reviews for its premium bold brews. I literally don't even have more than 5-star reviews for myself. Beyond exceptional taste, they're fierce defenders of the Second Amendment and our core freedoms. Personally, I've savored their rich, smooth coffee. I always like light roasts in general. I do darker light. I'm not a medium roast guy, but it is what it is. It's brewed by principled folks, which matters. They don't put trans stuff in front of you, and it's ready to back a brand right now that delivers quality with conviction. If you go to blackoutcoffee.com/rift, that's BLACKOUTCOFFEE.com/rift, RIFT. Snag 20% off your first order with the code RIFT. Join me in choosing coffee that stands for something. Plus, you got this little tiny coffee, and it makes your hands look bigger. So, guys, it's kind of cool. You look like you have bigger hands.
Yeah.
At small things in small hands always look bigger. I love that. I love that. I love that. No, but it's true. It's true. My wife, for some reason, has small hands. Weird topic. But make sure you guys go to blackoutcoffee.com/riff. Guys, honestly, go buy a bag. They're a brand new sponsor. We want to blow them out of the water and partner with this company for a long time. So check it out. Now, there's another right there. They got the Patriot Roast right in front of my good friend here, Michael Hennessy. So check it out. We got a lot to try. All right, so let's just get into this story here.
Hey, 1 second. Sulaiman's here, so I'm gonna go grab him and then just leave you guys on screen for a bit.
That's fine.
All
Yeah,
right.
our guest is here. That's fine. All right, so we just got to talk about this. So basically, let's just talk about this for like just a minute or two because I want to switch over to our other story. We talked a lot about these ideas of like what's going on and what's happening. Now, what's crazy is that in the midst of this, Elon Musk came out and called for everyone to cancel their Netflix, and that was because of a campaign by libs of TikTok. Now, what's even crazier is that this canceled Netflix campaign actually ended up being a paid campaign by Angel Studios, which I partnered with them on. That was a very successful campaign.
See, I wanted to partner with them on that, but no, apparently not. I did see that, though. Other people were posting this, well, unsubscribe from Netflix and subscribe to Angel Studios instead. I thought they were just taking advantage of it, but apparently it was theirs.
I got paid $1,000 to cancel Netflix.
So it's not $7,000.
No,
it was
but
$1,000.
I don't mind taking money to tell people to not watch transgender
No.
cartoon porn.
What the frick? Angel Studios. I make Christian movies. That's crazy.
I had to take a bunch of college students out to a bar. So that was like, I forgot when you with college students, they all look at you to pay the check. Like I was like sitting there and everyone's ordering. There's like 12 of them ordering drinks. Yeah, they're all of age. They're all like 22, whatever, seniors in college. And then all of a sudden like the bill comes and it's like $900. And I'm like, thank you, Angel Studios, for my alcohol bill. I think that's what they want to pay for, right?
That's exactly it.
Quality content and fireball. No, but your honest take on this, I think what we have a problem with is not like the boomer take is like people really don't put their money where their mouth is. People like don't want to look at adult content. They don't want to look at things, but they still do. A lot of us, people don't want to like promote vice, but we still go out and party. People talk about getting married and starting families, but they're all single and don't have kids. And it's by choice. I'm not talking about people who got divorced or whatever, or people whose spouse died or they got injured. I'm talking about people just really aren't really like, it's all, we got to save the white race. Got to save the white race. And then nobody's trying to find a wife. And then they give excuses. I feel like there's got to be a point in our lives where we have to stand up with conviction because we really are funding our enemies.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is where I'll shout out Catholicism, and no offense to my Ortho bros. I have a lot of Orthodox friends, but this is a complaint that they have as well because there aren't women in the Orthodox Church. They're just not progressing there. And so it's like, yeah, you can come up with as many excuses as you want. You could say, oh, well, it's just tough. And it is. Don't get me wrong. Life sucks. But also there are good choices out there. You just have to really be diligent. And also you have to meet them yourself. I mean, I had high standards for a long time. And I was told by friends, they're like, Braden, your standards are way too high. You got to lower them a little bit. And I was like, I meet my own standards. If I can meet my own standards, someone else can meet them too. And then I found a girlfriend who meets all the standards and now we're chilling. So it's like, yeah, it sucks. But if you really want to save the white race, if you really want to bring America back into prosperity, then you're going to have to actually try. And so once again, it's not a dig at people who aren't trying or people who are in unfortunate situations where they don't have the ability to, but I've noticed a lot of the time, it really is just excuses. And so as my friends and I say, when we were doing our powerlifting days, don't give me excuses, give me results.
Yeah, can we get a producer here to just get us off this screen here so that we can he just go run over there and do this? We could have sent Joey over there to do this. Just throw off up and give me my screen here so I can bring this up here.
No dooming.
This is absolutely crazy. If you could bring up my screen here for a moment, this is nuts. So I don't know if you guys saw about this because we're gonna have Dinesh D'Souza on in about 10 or 15 minutes here. Bari Weiss, who is a reporter, right? We're talking about all this crap in the media. Netflix is worth about $491 billion. They have the ugliest building in all of Hollywood. And you got to realize when someone builds a building that's ugly on the outside, it's ugly on the inside too. You got to kind of question your sanity here. How does a streaming service that literally gives you black queens of England somehow become worth $500 billion while forcing your kids to watch gay men kiss? And you know what's crazy is I didn't even realize they were kissing. I just watched it 35 times,
Yeah.
But I look at this and I'm wondering, I'm out here trying to run a media company, trying to raise money. We're trying to get donors and investors. If you know anyone out there that wants to invest, we have new shows launching. I'm just going to keep throwing it out there. Please shoot me an email, Elijah@rifftv.com. We have some investors, and we want to keep expanding and growing and start more shows. We want to start things. It's hard. But I realize that the Hasbro budget is what matters. If you want to push degeneracy, if you want to push absolute filth on our children, you could be worth $500 billion, ladies and gentlemen. But also, on top of that, if you, as an individual, want to just only speak positively, simply positively, about the nation state of Israel, which is, I guess, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a nice place. There's great places to visit. Jerusalem's a great tourist destination. But if you only write the good things, you might also get $150 million. New York Times is reporting the sale went through. Paramount is now buying the Free Press for $150 million. If you guys don't know how serious this is, I want to bring
I don't think we want to cheer on that, Mike.
Mike got a little trigger happy.
He came back and he's just like, all right, cheer, 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 cheer.
Yeah, but look at this. So this is what their YouTube looks like right now. This is about what their average view count is. About 3.4K views, 10K views. This is not even a joke. 14K views, 12K views, 3.9K views. So if they're worth $150 million with these views, we're about $85 million value now here at rifftv.com.
Let's go.
Let's go. We're doing good.
Correct.
Finally going to get paid.
Yeah, well, like
Maybe.
Look, I agree with this. So Tim brought this up. I want to bring this. This is like kind of interesting about corruption. Tim Pool brought this up that they have 155K paying members for their site. They get 3.7 million views per month, 15 million annual revenue estimate. And so I didn't know they have 155K paying members.
That's
How did they
crazy.
even get that?
Yeah. That's with 3.7 million views. I mean, my Instagram alone had 20 something million impressions last month, and I don't have any subscribers. What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, paid. This all seems fake. Like the question. This is my point. Are they even real people? Like kind of like. Do you know about this? Like when Hillary Clinton releases a book, donors buy out the books so that they become New York Times bestsellers, so that they can gain notoriety and pedigree, and the books don't go anywhere. How many people read Hillary Clinton's book?
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone with it anywhere. I never saw it anywhere when it was out. I never saw anyone reading on a train and in a bus and a plane. But it was like New York Times bestselling overnight. Yeah. And it's like because some donor, like Larry Ellison, will go and he'll buy like $15 million worth of books and then change the charts. Yeah. So to me, I feel like it's a system that's like, oh look, but she's profitable, but it's money laundering. And now that they can't use USAID because it's been gutted, they're just buying out the Hasbro budget, just buying out loyalty. And what is the loyalty? It's so that she could take over the CBS News because they said that CBS wasn't being fair on the October 7th aftermath and the war. And so they had to change guard like they did to the Ivy League schools. And you see this constantly where you get rewarded for mediocrity. And that's what's so frustrating is that like a lot of people think in this industry, like if I'm talented, I deserve it. Or people think I deserve it because I want it, because I want it, because I want it. It's like you may get lucky if you're talented. You may get lucky if you're ambitious. But the way that you really get rewarded is by blind allegiance, by shutting up, and by being the opposite. It's like how Liberty University canceled our speech because they were afraid of the backlash. So Liberty University restricted our liberty because they were afraid of the price of liberty. Mm-hmm. The Free Press sells for $150 million. And as Bari Weiss said, why was it sold for $150 million? She said, from day one, the promise and the business proposition of the Free Press was simple.
It's always a promise.
We would marry the quality of the old world to the freedom of the new. We would seek the truth and tell it plainly, oy vey. And we would treat readers like adults capable of making their own choices. So many people told us this was no longer possible, that the premise of the media company built on the trust rather than partisanship, at best, a relic from the past, and at worst, a fantasy that never was. That the internet killed journalism, that there simply weren't enough Americans out there in search of media driven by honesty, independence, and integrity. Our readers proved them wrong. Our subscribers demonstrated that there's a market for honest journalism, and they've given us a mandate to pursue the mission from an even bigger platform. Yeah, the readers gave you a mandate to spread pro-Israeli content, not the $150 million paycheck. That's literally 154,000 subscribers, and $150 million is about $1 million, like per what? Per like 1,000 subscribers or whatever?
Roughly,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
1
she
million
said
per one-
it was promised to her, which they love to say.
That was the promise.
But
yeah.
you know, the main thing is yes, there's not a lot of views, but what they want to do is they just want to control the narrative. They want to control the airwaves. So what you take these companies, they really don't care how profitable it is, but they want to bump up the numbers. They want people, the normies, when they go and they watch things on TV, they get the same message repeated over and over, like a Project Mockingbird effect. So they start to believe that, you know, this is what the rest of America's thinking when it's not. For instance, us having war in the Middle East, this is something that, you know, majority of Americans now, we do not want. We do not want blind allegiance to, you know, Israel or whatever country it may be. But when you have these talking heads, these people just parroting it over and over and over, you know, the normies, they start to believe it. And that's really what it is. It's a form of control. They don't care how profitable that company is, because as long as their message is getting out and nobody else is getting in. So that it's just about control.
Yeah, someone said Elijah's kvetching voice is getting good.
You're hanging out with the Boca residents a little too much.
Everyone's like, he's been practicing. No, because what I realized is the kvetching accent, since I've lived here, I've heard a lot of it. Do you know about this? Our editor-in-chief, Earl Gray, you guys all know him. He was at dinner with, I'm not gonna give away too much information. He was at dinner with one of James O'Keefe's top guys, and they were just like mentioning Zionism, and this guy's like, "Hey, you mentioned Zionism? You're mentioning Zionism?" It's on film, by the way. He's like, "This is a Zionist place. I own this fucking restaurant. This is my island." I was like, well, was this also promised to you 3,000 years ago? Because, you know, that's kind of crazy. And so they get mad. They do talk like that. I listened to the video. I listened to it, and I honestly listened to it. They yelled at him. So I've heard their voices in here screaming, and they yell at me. And I got in a fight with the kvetching guy recently who was yelling at me at a bar. And I told him, was this, my family founded this place. Was your family, were they promised this place? Because which country? You got to choose a country, my dog. You got to choose a country. Is this country your country, or is that country your country? However, I will say I was genuinely impressed by his kvetching voice, and I aspire to be like him. I too like to yell at Earl Grey at restaurants. Sometimes I just show up I put my hat in the dryer so it's smaller than normal, and I like to just get mad at young white men.
Or get bank loans without interest.
Yeah, I'm doing that anyways. Yeah, that's why I married into the tribe, buddy.
See, smart guy right here. He knows what's up.
Anyways, no. But yeah, I thought it was actually hilarious. Hopefully Earl will be on this week and can give you guys the actual story and explain to you guys what happened, because it's just hilarious. It's just hilarious. But these people, I was gonna say, it's convention. It's like you have to do a widowy. Welcome to my lair. You have to do like a Reddit mod voice paired with Down syndrome, and then like whining.
So the whiny Reddit down mod.
Correct.
Got it.
Oy vey. That's what it is. With a little bit of moaning. All right. Where are we at with Dinesh coming on? Just want to see if.
You should be joining soon. I'm talking to this guy somewhere right now.
Cool. All right. So talking about this though, what I want to talk about this is, can we stop congratulating our enemies, please? Megyn Kelly brought this up and said, Bari Weiss deserves every bit of this success, and I'm thrilled to see her rewarded for all of her hard work. Go get him, B. Yeah, her hard work, scissoring with her girlfriend, her wife. Isn't she a lesbian?
I'm not sure.
Not that
I don't
it
know
matters.
enough about her. Oh, it does matter. It's a sin. Repent. Seek Christ.
Wait, yeah, she's a lesbian. So what kind of subscribers does she have?
That's what I'm saying.
No,
Hopefully.
can we not like have it like an actual deep talk about this for a second? Like genuinely, like can we just talk about like the inner workings of the intellectual like economy of the world? You know, like as if we're like Will Smith's son. You know, I want to talk about the deep things. No, but I think it's a demoralization campaign to like they put smut in front of you. But think about this. It's like, and they go, well, you have no other option. You're just like, people just don't cancel their Netflix subscriptions because it's like, well, that's just what there is. Did you see even, it wasn't Bluey. Wait, was it Bluey? One of the shows I think it might have been blue. I don't know. But they were like, oh, this is my mom dog and my other mom dog. And I have 2 mom dogs or something like that. And I was like, you see Tristan Tate? I'm going to look that up right now.
Yeah.
But he put that up. And then at the same time, you're like, man, well, I want to do something correct and good. And then what happens? You get the free press, which is about true and honest journalism, selling ourselves for $1,000 a subscriber because, gosh dang it, that's what truth is worth to us. And you're like, you're so $1,000 per subscriber at $10 a month, which means that at $100, they're about $100 a year for that site from what I see. So it's going to take a decade before you even break even on the investment, assuming that there's a similar rate of growth and it wasn't sold out, maybe 5 to 6 years. Who's buying that?
Yeah.
Like who's paying for that in this tight economy?
What money-rich, savvy genius is dropping 150
Larry
million?
Ellison.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Larry? Is it Larry Ellison? I think it is. It is Larry Ellison.
Wait, isn't that the same guy buying TikTok?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
So he's just spending money.
Yeah.
Oh, well, where's he getting it from? Where did Epstein get his money from? That's kind of a good question.
Well, a lot of these companies, as you mentioned, like for instance, Netflix and all the rest. I mean, as I said before, it's more about pushing their narrative. It's more about pushing the propaganda than it is about making money. I mean, how many times have we seen Netflix was getting, boycott Netflix, but they continue to put out the same crap. It's the same thing with Disney, losing billions of dollars, but then continue to go down the path of LGBTQ and all these other things. So it's gotten to the point now where it's just about sending a message to us, to indoctrinate children, to try to grab the youth and then have them believe in the same ideology that they have. They don't care about what what we really want and what people are really going to theaters. Because when I go to the theater, the main thing I want to do is I want to forget the world. I want to be able to go in. I deal with enough craziness. I want to be able to turn something on, kind of get out of all this political stuff, and just enjoy myself and have a good time. But unfortunately, everything has a message. Everything is designed to get you to believe and think a certain way, and they just really don't care. Even the actors now, they come out. We have so many actors and actresses that come out, and they'll be like, the fans don't agree with the direction you took the movie. And instead of finding a way to fix it so they can, because we are the consumers, you think you'd want the consumers to be happy. No, they tell us that we're either racist or we're homophobic or all these other names, versus actually putting out legitimate content. It's not about a great script anymore. It's about how many gay people you can put in it, how many disabled people you could put in it, and so on and so on.
How many can we put in it?
Yeah.
I've been wanting I've only seen like a couple thousand so far, and I'm hoping we can get those numbers up.
You got to do way more. It is also really disappointing when you have shows like even The Chosen, which is supposed to be a Christian show.
I think it got bought out by Mormons in the second season.
It did. And shout out Jonathan Rumi. He's Catholic. I know that there's a couple others too. But like, I think the guy who plays Matthew, the gospel writer Matthew, came out in front of LGBT theology and was defending all the. And I'm not going to lie. I went the day after the Charlie Kirk assassination. I needed to take my mind off things. I went and saw the Demon Slayer movie in theaters with my brother, and that was just 3 hours of action, zero politics, zero LGTV barbecue, whatever. That was fantastic. And so there's a reason why that movie. I mean, I think the last I saw of it was made like $620 million, which surpassed the 615 that Superman made. So even people are getting fed up with the Americanized. Yeah.
And you know what? And we have Dinesh on. But before we transition to this, guys, I want to remind you guys real fast, from 6 a.m. to lights out, life asks a lot of, and if low T signs are holding you back, less power in your lifts, maybe even less patience at work. Me? Anyone who work here having freakouts at work? Okay. Anyways, sometimes I have it, but that's from a different reason. But honestly, Man's Edge, the supplement that we use here all the time. Specifically, I'm cycling off of it this week, but I've been on it the last month. It's a multi-ingredient formula that supports healthy testosterone. Now, obviously, you guys know about the trusted ingredients: fenugreek, these are all natural, tongadoli, tribulus, NO2 to support blood flow, and deer antler velvet IGF-1 for recovery, so you feel focused, strong, and confident. Well, guess what? Consistency wins with products. And even if you're on TRT, Man's Edge can complement your regimen by supporting how your body uses testosterone. Join thousands of men taking back their day. Lock in 50% off on auto ship at ElijahIGF1.com. That's ELIJAH, IGF1.com, and use code Elijah for an extra 10% off your first order. Man's Edge, make men men again. Again, when you click auto ship, you basically get 2 bottles, 60% off. Check it out today at ElijahIGF1.com. So as I bring Dinesh in, I saw something interesting. Dinesh has a new movie out, which we're going to discuss in a second. And we talk a lot about the show, about the conflicts that are going on right now in Israel. There's everyone, if you're living under a rock, you would know even what's going on, the tensions between those two countries. And whether you fall on the pro-Palestinian, like left-wing side, if you fall on the MAGA, pro-Israel side, or you're like me, where you're like, can we stop this bullshit? The truth of the matter is that, look, I agree with a lot of people like Dinesh in the fact that I don't think Islam is compatible with the West. I think that Islamic countries are very, very aggressive, have a lot of aggressive, very, very interesting, low IQ Islamic people. But my issue is that a lot of these people have been displaced and pushed into Western countries. And I was reminded about what these people think, reminding you, don't forget that there is literally a caliphate proposition to take over the West that is very real, especially with those that left Syria, left Yemen, left Libya due to American and Israeli conflicts, joint conflicts with NATO. Listen to this video here of what these people think about us and what's going on. This is right here in the United Kingdom. Watch.
And you cannot go against Mariama. Mariama is she. Mariama is she. I am from Africa. I'm from Africa. To come and take this world here to be a Muslim country. And Allah is going to make it all Islam. Get used to it, Christians. It's going to be an Islam country. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Get it, boy.
Maybe I send the police this
Change
footage.
your origin from a dirty Christian as you are.
Dirty Christian?
You're dirty
A
mouth.
dirty Christian?
Your mouth is dirty.
You're dirty.
Your
Don't you
mouth
dare
is
ever
dirty.
call me a dirty
Your
Christian.
mouth is-
Don't you dare call me that.
Go
Do
away,
you
boy.
understand me? I never once saw I told your religion.
You leave now.
No, I'm not leaving. She called me a dirty Christian. No, I'm going nowhere. She just called me a dirty Christian.
Yes.
You're
I've got it. Then make her leave. No, I'm not going anywhere. And if you're going to have to physically remove me. She's just called me a dirty Christian.
Wait, calm yourself, Dad. Calm yourself, Dad.
Wait for it.
I'm
Wait
going
for it.
nowhere.
Why are you getting involved with her?
She came back up to me again and called me a dirty Christian. No, she walked up to me. I told you that's what I'm calling for my own defence.
Right, okay. You can go and
Pause. Okay, wow. There's the Muslim police officer in London telling the Christian that he's guys breaching the peace because he doesn't want to be disrespected in a Christian country for being called a dirty Christian. Joining me to talk about his new film, Dinesh D'Souza, author, filmmaker, and podcast host. Dinesh, it's so good to have you on. How have you been?
I've been doing well. Wow, there's a heck of a debate going on, and it's from all sides, right? So a huge debate has broken out, I would say, on the MAGA right. Look, in general, these things I think are not bad. It's a healthy debate. We're trying to straighten out what America first really means. Now, my film wades into the middle of this. I didn't make it to wade into the middle of this. I actually made it as a film that would be a kind of marriage between biblical archaeology and the aftermath of October 7th. But the film has taken on a kind of timeliness because of the fact that this issue is now fracturing the right. And so I've been somewhat reluctantly drawn into all that. I say that because, of course, I've spoken at a lot of Candace's events. Last year, Tucker Carlson and I did a tour together. We spoke in about 8 Australian cities. It was funded by some Australian billionaires. So we spent about 9 days together. So all of this is a little strange, a little bit surreal, but here we are. And the film, I would say, integrates politics with spirituality, with a look at biblical archaeology and even a hint of biblical prophecy. Its ultimate goal, I think, is to raise the awareness above the political and to emphasize that there's a spiritual dimension here. And I want the film ultimately to be an instrument of healing and also an instrument of spiritual renewal.
Yeah, Dinesh, I really want to talk to you about the film and also some of your ideas because, as we all know, that there's this conflict has really divided not just the people in the Middle East; it's divided the world, right? It's divided not just the left and the right; it's divided the right against the right. It's divided families. It's divided young and old. It's even divided political parties, ideological groups, and even divided Christians. This is what's so crazy, and. I really want to tackle this issue and talk to you because I'm sort of coming to God right now in this season of life, and God's really changing my heart, right? And this is obviously an issue that's hard because a lot of Christians really are split on this issue. Now, when we're talking about the Palestinian-Israel conflict, I want to get into some things that you said, but is beyond the war itself, this new film that focuses on this division. Was the social aspect of what you're seeing dividing the right your own disagreements with Tucker Carlson. Like when you said this, you said the problem with Tucker is not that he's bad for Israel, he's bad for Trump and MAGA. He's trying to rip MAGA apart ideologically and generationally. I don't know his motives, but who can be blind to the effect of his actions, and who benefits the left, the Islamic jihadis? I mean, you're claiming that Tucker, who of course is a friend and colleague of both of ours, we both worked with, is, whether intentionally or unintentionally, you know, the way he's the side he's taking in this conflict, the side that he's promoting, and the people that he's platforming is literally being destructive. And that's pretty crazy to see you fighting. You guys are both prominent people, and then you make this film. Was this just promo for your film, or like why do you feel this way, and what led you to make this movie?
Well, the two are actually somewhat distinct, although I recognize they've been somewhat blurred because my film is just out this week. Look, here's the point. I wrote in a book that came out about 2008 or 2009 that we were likely to see something very remarkable emerging, and that is a weird alliance, a strange bedfellows between the cultural left in the West, let's call it the LGBTQ left, on the one hand, and the radical Islamic jihadis on the other. Now, when I said this, people were like, Dinesh, you're out of your mind. These two groups are not compatible. Are you really saying that the Folsom Street gays can go and make peace, and they can go and belong somehow in Gaza or with the mullahs in Iran? Are you saying that these Islamic jihadis would be comfortable in a kind of left-wing salon where you have all these orgies and all this stuff going on? No. But nevertheless, they're joined at the hip, these two groups. They marched together at Columbia University. They have made common cause with each other. Why? Because they hate the same people. And who are the same people? Israel and the Jews on the one hand, and Christians and the West on the other. So leaving aside any debate on our side, this configuration has been created outside of us. The Islamic jihadis and the left have partnered, regardless of what Tucker Carlson or Candace or anybody have done. They did that first. Now, that leaves us on the other side. We are the declared enemy, right? The little Satan, Israel, we the West and America are the big Satan. And so the only question for us is, are we going to recognize who our enemies are, identify our friends, ally with our friends to undermine those enemies, or are we going to declare each other, meaning Israel and the United States are going to declare each other to be the enemy, fracture our own side, strengthen both radical Islam and the cultural left in the process? I mean, this is not biblical analysis. This is the very simple mechanics of realpolitik. This is recognizing that you have a declared enemy, and either you wake up to that fact or you start fighting among yourself and weaken your own side.
Right. So I want to pick your brain on that, because obviously the film is called The Dragon Prophecy. It's based on a book, and I want to know a little bit about what the dragon prophecy is in the Bible and how it relates to modern day Israel. But I want to presuppose something. What I don't understand about your position is, number one, you make a video like this that's reasonable, and I see nothing wrong with going out and like interviewing survivors of October 7th attack, because, as somebody now, even with faith in God, I don't believe, even if they're occupiers, even if I understand politically, I can understand why they did what they did, but I don't think it justifies doing what they did. I can understand why somebody kills an ex-wife who cheats on them or does something that they're mad about, but I don't think that it's necessarily a right thing to do. Even if it does logically make sense, I do think it was immoral. However, I also believe that Israel let this happen. I think that when you look at stand down orders from some of their generals, when you look at the way that they indiscriminately fired from the Apache helicopters that might have caused necessary civilian and collateral damage, when you see the fact that they have this extreme surveillance system, and then they couldn't detect like third world paragliders, I feel like we have another situation where you have a far right government that is very unpopular with people. They allow this event to happen, and they let their people be killed to get a war that they wanted. And I maybe you could disagree with me on this. To me, it's like I get frustrated because it's like I don't support Muslims. I don't like Islam. I don't support Muslims in my country. But I also firmly believe that the reason why we have so many low IQ Muslims in the West, particularly in Europe, is frankly due to the fact that we've fought 25 years of nonstop Israeli inspired and Israeli influenced wars from our government. And it feels like we're being asked to support Israel or Palestine. And a lot of us are like, could we just leave these people alone? And can you just leave us out of this? Because we don't want anything to do with it. How do you address that on the right? People like myself who are kind of like not pro-Palestine, but we're also not pro-Israel by any means. And we're not anti-Semitic. We're not against the Jews. We just do not like this regime and what they've done to capture, we believe, the political influence of our country.
So it looks to me that what you're missing here is that a lot of the United States being, quote, dragged into all this has absolutely nothing to do with Israel and a lot to do with the incredible stupidity of our own leaders. Let's just look at a couple of examples. Jimmy Carter pulls out the Persian rug from the Shah, and we get Khomeini. The United States is complicit in enabling radical Islam to get a hold of a major state. What did Israel have to do with that? Absolutely nothing. Sheer incompetence on our part. Then after 9/11, which by the way, notice that like October 7th, we missed that one completely. In fact, we had a lot more advanced warnings than Israel did, right? We had the bombing of the embassies, the bombing of Khobar Towers, the attack on the USS Cole, and yet we completely missed, and by we I mean everybody, the CIA, the Clinton administration completely missed, the Bush administration, the incoming Bush administration completely missed it. And so that can be explained by the fact that we were out to lunch, just like Israel, I think, is so divided. They were trying to impeach Netanyahu. There was lawfare going against him the same way as it was against Trump. There was a big fight about the Supreme Court. So deep polarization within Israel. And I think that is the main reason why the Israelis completely took their eye off the ball. They're focused on tearing each other apart. And they didn't see that Hamas would come really almost ancient style on gliders and just with motorcycles right over the fence. So that's the second point. The third point is we get into the Iraq war. There's no reason to believe that this is in Israel's interests at all. Here's why. Israel for a long time has supported secular dictators in that region, by the way, including the Shah, including Saddam Hussein, as a way of fighting against radical Islam. For some reason, the Bush administration decides that even though there's no tie at all between 9/11 and Saddam Hussein, we're going to go over there and pulverize Saddam Hussein. This is not in the interests of Israel, and there's no evidence that Israel, quote, made us do it. The neocons here, yes. Israel, no. Now, turning to like Israel itself, look, I mean, these guys know what they're doing, and we don't. I mean, do you think that our bungling CIA, these men in their high heels who go to DEI seminars, you think that these guys could have pulled off that pager attack that Israel did on these jihadis? I mean, that was strategic brilliance, flawlessly executed. And so what I'm getting at is when we are fighting radical Islam and we don't know what the hell we're doing, and you've got a group of people who are on the scene, they are fighting radical Islam in Yemen and in Sudan and of course in Iran. And mostly they're the ones who pulverized Iran. We didn't. At the last minute, they called Trump and he loaned them a B-2 bomber for like 48 hours. You don't think that's a good price to pay in terms of return on investment? Yeah, if Iran is deprived of nuclear weapons for 30 years, that's good for Israel, but it's 10 times better for us. Because as you just said, there's a global jihadi movement here, and the jihadis in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in Pakistan, they don't care about Gaza. They don't spend 5 minutes thinking about the Palestinians. Their goal is to infiltrate Australia and Canada and Europe and the United States. So we have to be aware of this much larger threat. If you're saying that we shouldn't give Israel $3.8 billion, we should give them $1 billion, or don't give them any money at all, I mean, I want to have that debate with you. We give so much more money to other places that give us the middle finger and do absolutely nothing for us. So my prudential view is that on the balance, I think we are getting a pretty good ROI. But look, Elijah, you and I should not be fighting about this. The main threat that we both face is the left in this country, a left that has made common cause with these radical Muslims, people like Ilhan Omar, like Mamdani. So if you're saying we need to focus primarily on what's going on within our country, I agree. If you think we should view all of this within the lens of America first, I agree. I'm not Israel first. I'm not obsessed with Israel. Elijah, you know me well. I've been making movies for about 12 years. I've made 7 of them. I haven't touched the topic of Israel. I've never written a book on Israel in 30 years. So I think I can claim legitimately that I'm interested in this topic. I was sort of drawn into it sideways because of my interest in biblical archaeology. Then I got sort of drawn into October 7th. So the film developed in that way. It certainly didn't develop to go into a fight with Tucker Carlson, but hey, here we are.
So yeah, so look, I want to both do two things. I think in the spirit of good debate, let me agree with you real quick where I agree with you. I want to play a clip from the United Kingdom of a Pakistani coalition, an Islamic Pakistani coalition. Listen to what they had to say, and then I want to rebuttal something you said.
We will only truly get real power if we just have more Pakistanis sitting in council chambers and parliaments, but actually having more Pakistanis and South Asians sitting in the corridors of power making the decisions. And that's where I'll end tonight, is to say the change is coming. And the days where our South Asian community are viewed as a vote bank or a curry bank are well and truly gone. The days where South Asian communities get to lead political parties and get to lead countries is now upon us. The days when South Asian communities get to decide not just which school our children go to, but what they are taught in those schools.
Okay, so look, on one hand, I looked up, someone could fact check me on this. I looked up the crime in Dearborn, Michigan, actually. It's actually gone down the more Muslim it's gone. I looked it up. That might not be true. That's what it said on state statistics. Meaning, I know we look at the images, it's a foreign culture, and so obviously we don't want the West to be Islamic. We are not Islamic. We have fought against the Turkish, the Ottoman Empire for hundreds of years to be a Christendom and to be a nation. And there is a radical Islamic takeover, particularly in Europe and in some cities in the United States, the Midwest, orchestrated largely by Obama, by the way. That was intentionally pushed there. People say Obama's Muslim. I'll say this. I want to agree with you that, yeah, look, that's the radical left working with Islamic, radicals to radically transform the demographics of our country. And I believe that. I mean, the amount of people that came in under Biden, I mean, that's we can't fix that. And look, I know you're I guess they call it South Asian now. It's like, I mean, you're Indian, but you're Christian, and I think you're Christian. We get along, and even more now, I understand. I totally relate to people based upon our faith in Christ. But obviously, most Indians are not Christian; they're Hindu. Most of these, Arabs are not Christian; they are Muslim. But what I'm saying to you is like, there's no way that you use 9/11 as an example when that we missed it, that the multi-trillion-dollar economic powerhouse with all of the foreknowledge, didn't know that we were going to be attacked when Alex Jones, a guy in his basement, quote unquote, could call it and said Osama bin Laden's going to fly planes into the towers, but we missed it. That they were running air drills that day, international. They're shutting down radars. We saw some of the same stand downs happening. There's a way to not be anti-Semitic, Dinesh, and then be like, hey, Netanyahu needed this war to stay in power, and he, since the 90s, has wanted the Greater Israel Project to succeed, and every country, including now Iran, that he has wanted to invade, the U.S. has helped coalition forces. We haven't invaded Iran. He still wants troops on the ground, but we started bombing them, that he is using our government to fight his wars, and that Americans are getting tired, myself, that we are being slandered as anti-Semites. We are being slandered as, like Ezra Levant slanders me as a Jew hater, all because I am trying to be honest with my audience that there is a select group of powerful Zionists and Zionist Jews, right? Many Zionists are not Jewish. Many Zionists are white. Most Zionists are white, I would say. White Christians are Zionists. And I'm not anti-Christian. No one says that I'm anti-Christian when I call out white Zionists. So I'm saying there is white Zionists and these powerful Jews, and I want accountability because I believe they've captured. I was offered thousands of dollars just this week to start shit-talking Muslims. That's not even a joke. And one of them was to spread lies about Qatar influencing our universities, which has been debunked. The money went to buy leased names for our schools in their country, not to influence curriculum. And it's like, I'm seeing all this on the back end, and I feel like when you're calling Tucker crazy, you're basically, because I align a lot with what Tucker's doing, I feel like I'm not as famous as Tucker. I'm probably not even worthy of being called out by you. I'm privileged to have you on the show, and I respect you a lot for being willing to come on the show. But it feels like people like yourself are just like discrediting people like me when I'm not discrediting you. You know, I take your position seriously and it's formidable, but I'm trying to disagree. But I feel like you're just being said, oh, we're aligning with the left. How am I aligning with the left by trying to keep America American and keep the politics America first, not Israel first?
Well, if you were living in World War II and there's a great fight, let's say, going on between the Allies, which is to say the West, and the Nazis, there is that fight. It's going on. You can't avoid it. And so you're either on one side or the other, right? If you basically say, all right, my goal really is to expose Winston Churchill. I'm going to show that Winston Churchill is the real villain of World War II, not Hitler. Hitler had some understandable grievances, and sure, he might have gotten slightly out of control. Then I would say objectively, you are against the Allies, and whatever you're doing, whatever its motive, it could be very benign. It could be that you had German ancestors and you feel benignly toward them. But objectively, you are helping, if you will, the Nazi cause in this fight that's already going on. So that's not really a name calling. It's just it's a description. It's not an accusation. This is the effect of what you're doing, and I'm saying it to you, you know, as a friend, so to speak. So I'm not chastising you. I'm simply saying, look, the effect of what you're doing is this, whether you intend to do it, you know, or not. Now, when you say things like, and look, these accusations aren't new, right? People said that FDR knew that the Japanese planes were coming to bomb Pearl Harbor. He knew it in advance. He wanted the U.S. to get into World War II. There was enough internal opposition that he let it happen because that was this clever way of getting us into the war. And this has been a kind of theory that's hovered around really for 75 years. Similarly, about 9/11, you're saying, how could it happen? Well, I'm old enough to know that the CIA has not gotten one thing right since the 1940s. I followed CIA analysis of the Cold War. These people are some of the biggest idiots the world has ever seen. They constantly misjudged the Soviet Union. They claimed that the Soviet Union was going to keep going for another 50 years at the minimum. When the Cold War ended, right to the very end, they were saying that it was never going to happen. So think about what morons and buffoons have been running this country, at least the intelligence services. So I'm not in the slightest bit surprised that they were completely fooled by a group. See, if the Islamic guys had tried to sort of outwit the CIA on technology, they would not have succeeded. They chose a brilliantly primitive way to operate. And the same with October 7th. I mean, Hamas basically came, they just drove across the fence. They didn't try, you know, the Israeli security for the last 20 years has been talking about the need to move to cyber security, and they're worried about cyber attacks that would disable the communications networks. Hamas didn't need any of that. They basically just sent savages in human gliders, almost like you're doing parasailing on the beaches of Florida, and they came in that way, and that's the one thing that the Israelis weren't ready for. So if you're saying that they knew in advance, you have a really heavy burden of proof of saying that basically a Jew from a military family like Netanyahu, who has basically been fighting for his country and shed blood his family has for Israel, is going to sell the Jews out? I mean, look at it this way, Elijah. How come the Israeli left, which hates Netanyahu, has not been able to out him for this, savage him for this, take him down for this? If there was a shred of evidence that Netanyahu allowed or knew about this in advance, Netanyahu
But they
would
did.
be
They did. That was the
Israel,
opposition
but he's
party.
not.
The opposition party is who released the audio and the video for the Apache helicopters firing munitions blindly without verifying the targets, which allegedly is what blew up the vehicles or the cars that they showed. So the opposition party did release careless, and also the tank that blindly was firing the kibbutz into the homes. That was his opposition did release that. That's where I saw it. I go, I actually didn't know if they let it happen right when it happened. I guess I was like, how could this have occurred? But it feels like we're being gaslit. Like I feel like I know that you're smart, and I know that the money's not like what your detractors say. Like, this is dumb. Like, to you guys, Dinesh is rich. He doesn't need $7,000. Like, it's insulting. He doesn't need $7,000 to post about Israel, and he's not doing it for $7,000. But I'll be straight up with you. From the industry, I know that the position you're taking guarantees safety with donors, guarantees safety with like investors, and it guarantees like mainstream acceptance, especially with the distributors that need to put out films and movies. And the reason why I'm not accusing you of just doing it for that reason is you're coming on this show. You're trying to get this movie out to everybody. You're trying to show this to people who agree or disagree. You're not just going into safe zones. You're willing to go into people that are hostile. You're willing to go into opposition. And so to me, that's evidence that you're not just doing it for whatever reason. I think you're convicted. That's what you believe, and that's what you think, right? So I'm not thinking you're just doing it for, like, some people I think are doing it for that reason. Some people even come against Israel just for clicks or the money. They do. It's popular, and that's what they do in the leftist circles. But it's like you know, with what's going on, I guess the burden of proof is when I look at the situation, and this leads to a war that is the war above all wars, the war that he needed. How is it right as he's about to be overturned that even Charlie Kirk, may he rest in peace, Charlie Kirk was on Patrick Bet David suggesting this very thing shortly before he was assassinated. I'm not connecting the two together, so don't nobody out there put words in my mouth. I'm not connecting Israel to the murder of Charlie Kirk. I'm just saying that he was noticing that, you know, how could they not have known about this? And that's a man who loved Israel, who supported the state, who wrote a letter to Netanyahu. Sort of, I didn't take it as a love letter, took it as a, look, dude, it's off my hands. You've got to fix your PR because you're losing people. Like, Charlie Kirk was thinking this too, right? So was he crazy?
Oh, no. Look, here's what am I defending here, right? I'm defending really the Trumpian position. What's the Trumpian position? We're not at war with Muslims. We don't want to be at war with Muslims because we're going to be we have to take on 2 billion people plus. We don't want to do that. The good news is that with the Abraham Accords, a number of the Muslim countries are willing to do business with us, and they're willing to do business with Israel. Now, the peace plan for Gaza involves an independent kind of international authority, probably predominantly Muslim, with people from Saudi Arabia, with people from Jordan, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, the Gulf Kingdoms, and so on. This is the right way, in my view, to handle it. It's not for us to pull out. It's not to declare Netanyahu is, you know, that he is the tail wagging the dog, or he is the puppeteer and Trump is the puppet. Anybody who knows Trump realizes, no, Trump is not going to be bullied by Netanyahu. If anything, in this peace plan, Trump is saying to Netanyahu, look, you're not going to want to release these terrorists. You're not going to want to give safe passage to the Hamas guys. But I'm going to make you do it because I want to see the fighting stop. And Israel is like, okay, boss. So I think here is a clear refutation of the idea that somehow Israel is manipulating our politics. They're controlling Trump. I'm basically saying, look, I know that we all have a little bit of PTSD because the CDC lied to us and the FBI lied to us and they stole the 2020 election. And you know I'm on board with you on all of that stuff. But it doesn't mean that it follows from that everything the government says is always a lie. We do need to, I'm not against asking questions. And my objection to Tucker is not that he asks questions, is that he doesn't ask questions in an open-minded way that seeks answers. It's that he uses a kind of ventriloquist journalism where he has the nun with a mustache. He asks her a leading question. He already knows the answer to the question. She gives him the approved answer. And then he goes, wow, my mind is completely blown, as if he never thought of it. So this is not the, quote, open debate that he calls for. I think we should have an open debate. Elijah, I would be willing to debate Tucker Carlson on your show one-on-one for 2 hours straight in a very cordial way. I'm not going to call him names. I never have. I never suggest that he takes money from anywhere. I've never called him an anti-Semite. But I do think that this is a very fracturing issue inside of MAGA. And if we start with some goodwill, we're all good guys. We've been friends for a long time. We can argue this out without having to kind of come to blows over it.
You know, I agree. I wanted to get a quote. I know that you don't have unlimited time tonight, and I appreciate you giving us your time here. You know, there's a quote from the movie that, again, to remind you guys, if you want to see the movie, it's called The Dragon Prophecy. It's about the conflict that's going on, and it seeks to, I think, portray honestly what's happening. I haven't seen it yet myself. I'm hoping to be able to get to watch it, which is, I've watched all of your films, and I've enjoyed them all. But there's a quote that says, "The devil hates Jewish people." This is actually from the trailer. Do we have the trailer? Yes, that we're able to play? Yes, no?
I can pull it up in a second.
Yeah, if you can pull it up in a second. I want to play the trailer here. "The devil hates the Jewish people." This was a line from the trailer. Firstly, I just want to ask, why do you think the devil hates Jewish people? And how do you respond to the claim in the Bible that anyone who rejects Christ is an antichrist, therefore against God? In 1 John 2:22, it says, "Who is the liar? It is whoever denies that Jesus is the Christ. Such a person is the Antichrist, denying the Father and the Son." Jewish people rejected Jesus, and so some say that they fall into this category. I know that you personally likely don't believe that, or maybe have a different perspective to the Orthodox or Catholic traditions on this, assuming you might be Protestant or something to that regard. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I just end with this. 1 John 4:3 says, "Every spirit that does not confess Jesus is from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you heard is coming, and even now is already here." So to reiterate that question, why do you think the devil hates Jewish people, and how do you respond to the traditional Ortho or Catholic position, even traditional Protestant position of Martin Luther on the position of Jews and Christians and our perspective, how we should be thinking or treating them in this age? I'd love to hear your perspective there.
Yeah. Do you want to play the trailer first and have me comment?
Let's go. Let's play the trailer and then we'll jump in.
Hear it for themselves.
Okay,
Great.
give
Go
me
ahead.
1 second pulling it up right
All right,
now.
we're going to pull this up here. For those that are just here, remember he has a new film out, The Dragon Prophecy. It is out in theaters. Is it out tomorrow or when is it? I actually didn't write that down.
Elijah, it's in theaters tonight and
Okay.
Wednesday night. So the only time really to see it in theaters is going to be Wednesday. And then it's in streaming the next day. So you can stream from home or get DVDs. And the dragonsprophecyfilm.com, that's the website. The Dragons, plural, the dragonsprophecyfilm.com.
You know, I think we should do a review of it. That's what we should do for Saturdays. We should talk about it and should watch it and review. I think it'll be interesting to critique what we agree with, what's not. I think it'd be good to just put YouTube content up on that. All right, let's go ahead and let's get the trailer going. If you can put it up here, Michael. Or are we good?
Yeah, I'm putting it on right.
All right. Thank you.
Another sign appeared in heaven. An enormous red dragon. Revelation 12:3.
Once again, an armed attack in the Middle East, but this time it's different.
October 7th was the Devil's Holiday.
It's very hard to believe what happened, even though I was there and seeing with my own eyes and seeing them laughing and killing and having fun with it.
Because if you don't open the door, they are going to kill you and they are going to kill me, so please open the door.
So who are the Jews? Who are the Palestinians? And whose land is it really? Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
The nation of Israel is a resurrected nation. So what if there was going to be a resurrection of another people, an enemy people of
it's all
Israel?
the way up on
The Bible speaks about this whole war as a dragon representing the enemy attacking a woman representing Israel.
The civilian deaths on both sides represent victories on the part of the dragon.
Hamas did everything within their ability to maximize the civilian casualty.
We came back to a land that was largely barren and empty, and we brought it back to life, and we're going to keep it.
The devil hates the Jewish people because they represent the existence of God.
Because without that Jewish foundation, there is no Christianity.
If we're approaching the end of time, God will reveal himself more and more dramatically.
Speak back through the stones. The story that they've been telling is that Israel is a colonial project. The problem with that is the city of David. We are an inconvenient truth.
Are you aware of any significant archaeological finding that contradicts the Bible?
No.
God's word stands firm. The dragon will not prevail.
Your message here is become a dragon slayer.
Yes.
Based on Jonathan Cahn's #1 international bestseller, The Dragon's Prophecy.
birthday, and tonight you can watch the film. You can stream it the day after. Dinesh, coming back into my previous question, if you guys are just joining us in the studio for the first time, the question was, in that trailer, you say that the man says that the devil hates the Jewish people. And why do you think the devil hates him? And also, how do you respond to the claim, like in 1 John 2:22, who is the liar? It is whoever denies that Jesus is the Christ. Such a person is the Antichrist, denying the Father and the Son. And 1 John 4:3, every spirit that does not confess Jesus is from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you heard is coming and even now is already in the world. How do you respond that the Jews reject Jesus, and so they also fall into this category of the Antichrist? There's got to be a balance. What's your theological perspective there, and how do you weigh that with your support of the nation state and the Jewish people?
All right. Wow. There's a lot here, Elijah. Now, not to wave any credentials on you, but I will mention that I have written 3 books on Christian apologetics, including one called What's So Great About Christianity. So I've debated many of the world's leading atheists, including probably 10 times Christopher Hitchens. So I'm actually very familiar with this material. And I'm not giving it from either a Catholic or Protestant perspective distinctively. I'm adopting the approach of what C.S. Lewis called mere Christianity, which is the absolute agreed upon common ground of the faith, not some denominational squabble between the Catholics and the Protestants. I stay away from those. Now, how does the devil hate the Jewish people? Here we get to the title of this film, The Dragon's Prophecy, a reference, by the way, to the book of Revelation, Revelation 12, where the dragon, clearly identified as the devil, is attacking a woman, clearly representing Israel, who is pregnant, clearly representing the child or the Messiah. That is the agreed upon understanding of what this imagery means. Now, we talk in this country, and we have for some time, that underneath our political debate is a moral debate. Underneath the moral debate is a spiritual debate, or what some people call spiritual warfare. But we never ask, who is the warfare between? Who are the combatants in this spiritual warfare? Who is fighting, and what are they fighting over? So the movie offers a theory, and it's just worth thinking about. It's advanced by a couple of people in the film, and it is, in a film we interview a number of sources, and this is a theory that I think is very provocative, and it's this, that the devil cannot defeat God. The devil cannot dethrone God. So what does the devil do? He finds the things that are important to God, and he tries to smash those. In Genesis 1, the devil takes on Adam and Eve. Why? What have Adam and Eve done to the devil? Nothing. But the serpent says, look, Adam and Eve are God's cherished creation, and so if I can ruin them, I'm going to get my revenge on God that way. And so the argument here, that is only briefly mentioned in the trailer, is this, that the devil attacks the Jewish people, because if the Jewish people are, quote, the chosen people of God, the devil is going to say, all right, I'm going to get a big laugh on God if I can ruin these people, if I can throw them out of their own ancestral homeland, if I can run them out from the river to the sea, if I can take their own holiest site, the site of the Solomonic Temple, and stick an Islamic victory arch on top of that with the Al-Aqsa Mosque next door. If I, the devil, can go and sit on the holiest site of Judaism and Christianity, then this will be a kind of delicious revenge on God. Now, I admit, this is a theological argument. You may or may not agree with it, but you have to admit it's very provocative, it's very interesting, and it explains not only why there's an attack on the Jews, but why there's also attacks that are growing against the Christians. Why? Because the Christians are, at least from the Bible's point of view, spiritual Israelites. The New Testament is engrafted on the Old, and therefore it's not surprising that the devil would take on not just the Jews, but would ultimately also take on the Christians, which are kind of the other children of this woman mentioned in Revelation 12. And so what do we see if we look around the world? We basically see that not only is there an attack on Israel, there's an attack on Christians worldwide. And who is leading that attack? The same people, the radical Muslims. And also in the West, we're seeing attacks by the cultural left, which hates Israel and hates the Christians. So this is a way of saying that these prophetic images and ideas from the Bible do find empirical support in the world that we see around us. Now, let me briefly address your second point, and I'll try to do it justice in a very succinct way. We have to distinguish, when we talk about things like replacement theology, you have to distinguish the spiritual new covenant, which does replace the old covenant. I completely agree with you that Jesus is the path to salvation. The Jews are not on that path, at least not the Jews who reject Jesus, only the Jews who accept Jesus. So spiritually, we're totally on the same page. But let's remember that from the beginning of Christianity, we find, for example, in the Church Father Augustine, he talks about the city of God and the city of man. In the city of God, what you are talking about is correct. But you're forgetting the city of man. Now, the city of man is the actual Bible as a function of history. Here comes God. He manifests himself through a particular people, the Jews, at a particular time and in a particular place. And he gives a particular piece of land, not the best piece of land. I wouldn't have chosen it myself, but God decided, I'm going to give this God-forsaken piece of earth to Abraham and his descendants. This is very clearly stated in the Bible. And what I'm saying is God never reneged on his word. God never said, I'm giving it to you as long as you're well behaved. And by the way, if you start misbehaving, I'm taking it back. There's no such thing as giving a gift and, quote, taking it back. All land is given in perpetuity. Elijah, if you or I buy a house, we own it in perpetuity. We can give it to our descendants. If we get that land conditionally, then we never got it. It was never ours in the first place. So either you believe that God gave the land to Abraham and his descendants, or you somehow believe that God was some sort of was playing a trick on them and said, you can have this land, but at some point if I change my mind after Jesus comes. So what I'm getting at is this. Yes, spiritually, there is a new covenant that replaces the old, but no, the New Testament does not replace the old. And no, the land promises given to Israel and the Jews are valid today as they were 3,000 or 4,000 years ago.
Well, I'll just say this. Dinesh, you said you have your new book out, new movie out based on the book, The Dragon Prophecy, but my opinion is this. When Jesus died and rose again, just like with Pharaoh, God, it says he hardened their hearts. And in any place in the Old Testament, while I haven't been, following God for most of my adult life and have barely been, I have to be humble about this, just meaning I've barely been coming to a place of receiving God's grace and his love. So I'm not coming at this from a hierarchical or theologically, sophisticated position, but what I've noticed is the patterns. I notice a lot of patterns. The noticing is very strong in this one. And when the hearts of anyone was hardened, they ended up doing great evil and very evil things. And the Bible says that they would return back to the land. The eschatological, ending, you probably do have some validity that the land was given to them. Now, how much of that land? What land? So do we give them Jordan? Do we give them Syria? Like, this is the question, right? Is it the great empire? Is it at the height of their empire? So what do we give them? That's the question I have. And two, if God didn't soften their heart, then it means God may still be using them, but is God using them as a tool for himself, or are they a tool of the enemy? Are they hardened in their heart and the enemy is using them, but God uses all things together for good? That God even uses what the darkness of what they're doing to the Palestinian people, the senseless murder, which, by the way, I won't justify even our white colonialism, where people use that. Well, you guys murdered people, and it wasn't right. Massacring people wasn't correct. I think it's over-exaggerated in our own history, but yeah, it wasn't right. Just like 9/11, the fact that we ignored that intentionally, I believe, it appears that way. It's not in the burden of proof to definitively say that, but it appears from what I've seen that was somewhere down the line, people intentionally let the telephone line break. That justifies them, letting their telephone line break. I think we are witnessing on TV an intentional ethnic cleansing that may or may not be successful in a relocation of people. And my question is, I just end with this, is what did God promise them, Dinesh? Is the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, what did God promise them? Because I was called an anti-Semite for an entire year after October 7th for telling people that it wasn't about the hostages, it was about the land. I said, they don't care only about the hostages, they want the land. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I don't think that it is fair to say that God drew a specific border. I think, in fact, we have had kind of a two-state solution when Gaza was basically run autonomously. They elected their own government, which is Hamas. I want to emphasize that in this film, nowhere do I justify civilian casualties on either side. In fact, there's a line in this film that when I heard it, I'm like, I've got to put it in this film. It's from Golda Meir, and it's from a book she wrote in 1972. She said, we can forgive the Arabs for killing our children. but we cannot forgive them for forcing us to kill their children. I think that the civilian deaths on both sides are basically victories of the dragon, which is to say of the devil, of the evil one. And I won't defend them. Now, I will say one thing about the replacement theology, because I want to leave sort of your listeners and viewers with this point. Very early on, there was an important meeting, as far as we know, the only meeting between the Apostle Paul and the 12 apostles, or the key apostles and disciples of Jesus. And they were basically arguing over the question of, for the Gentiles, do they have to, quote, become Jewish? Do they have to follow Jewish laws? Do they have to keep the Sabbath? Do they have to be circumcised? And basically, the outcome of that debate, which is the beginning, by the way, of the story of the Acts of the Apostles, is that the agreement was this, that the Gentiles do not have to follow the Jewish laws and diets and customs. They don't have to keep the Sabbath, but they have to keep everything else, which is to say, they're not repudiating Abraham, they're not repudiating the Exodus, they're not repudiating the Ten Commandments, they're not repudiating the Hebrew prophets. And to by the way, to do those things is basically to put yourself outside the bounds of Christianity. So yes, as Gentiles, there are many things that the Jews do. They keep certain festivals, they eat certain foods. We don't do those things, but that is not to say that there's any kind of complete break with the Old Testament. That is simply, that's not dispensationalism or some sort of Protestant mumbo jumbo. That is mainstream Christianity I've been giving you right here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will remind people just to come on to a place of agreement. You know, as I mentioned, guys, we are speaking at the University of Florida on Thursday on a We Won't Shut Up tour about fighting against radical left-wing violence and coordinated attacks. And the posters have only lasted like
3 hours.
3 hours, I think, and they're being ripped over all over the campus. This is what these people think about freedom of speech. That's why even as we talk about this, I think Dinesh and I agree that I think Dinesh might be one of the few people who we disagree on this issue, but we realize that it's like, well, we agree on like 99% of other issues on what the world needs. The world needs Jesus. America needs, freedom. We need liberty, and we know that our rights come from God. And I think I just want to remind people that I respect Dinesh, and this is the difference. By the way, this is cold, but this is the difference between the Indians that we are getting versus why the racism towards Indians is like on the rise. Because now we're not getting like these smart, rich Chads that come in and are like, intellectual. We're getting these scammers that are coming from these fake colleges. You know what they're doing. You've seen it. Set up fake colleges, sending out low caste people. And it's like absolutely crazy where people didn't mind Indian people before. And now there's like extreme. One time I'd love to have you come on and talk about like the rise of anti-Indian racism and how, I think it's really interesting how it's
probably
sort of
going to agree on a lot of that, Elijah, yeah. And I'm happy to do it. Look, the Indians come out of a sort of a survival culture, and we've had Indian socialism that's gone on for 50 years. And essentially what happens under any kind of socialist system is everybody becomes a crook. You remember how under the Soviet Union, there was a black market, and by and large, the black marketeers, that was kind of the only, quote, honest way of doing business, because everything else was kind of state run. So there are kind of reasons for what you're talking about. I agree it's inexcusable, and I agree that there are people who are playing the system, but that's a topic for another day. Let me just leave you with the website for the film, thedragonsprophecyfilm.com. I really would like to invite people who are skeptical or even hostile to Israel and Jews to check it out. Just go with an open mind. And then I really want to hear from you, and I really want to hear what you think about this film.
Yeah, so check it out again. That's the dragonsprophecyfilm.com, TheDragonsprophecyfilm.com. And I say that because we are on audio, guys. We are on podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are on audio. And so a lot of you guys are listening. It's hard to know what we're saying. There's no links to click, but make sure that you click it out there. Anyway, Dinesh, thank you for coming, man. It was great to have you on. I look forward to seeing you. And hopefully we can continue this great mission together. Again, we're speaking at these universities. It's costing thousands of dollars for security. There are really a lot of schools are canceling over security issues, but the radical left and whoever it was that coordinated or didn't to kill Charlie Kirk, we're not going to let his memory die. We are going to memorialize him, and we're going to continue to celebrate him, Dinesh. So thank you for all your hard work, and it was great to have you on.
I commend you guys, you and Braden and all of you, for your bravery in doing this, because this is the right way to show them, the bad guys, that they're not going to win on this one.
Thank you so much, Dinesh. Appreciate it. To the rest of you guys watching, don't forget, by the way, we have a guest coming on, Sulaiman Ahmed. Is that what it is? Sulaiman Ahmed? I didn't know how to say last name. I know we're like, dude, we're going top G crazy. We got Indians on, we got Arabs on. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? This is crazy. The next thing you know it, we're gonna have half Jews on.
No, that's so weird. The camera panned to me. I don't know why. That's an odd time to just pan to me.
It's a weird time for me to show my pictures of my children.
It's so coincidental.
No. So, you got to go. I know. Did we decide who was going for this next?
It really depends on how long the next segment is.
Probably an hour, about 45 minutes.
If I just got to get out of here by I got to be on the road before 9:30.
All right, you got to go. Yeah. All right, go ahead and plug your socials.
Braden Storbo, any and all social medias. Go follow me on X. We're going to be covering the event on Thursday. Very exciting.
Yeah, we'll see you there Thursday night at 9 p.m. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We're taking about 2 to 3 minute break. We're going to get our guests set up, and we're going to be talking about October 7th, some things Dinesh said, going into some crazy, cringy stuff that the left has done. We're going to talk about Islam, the rise of Islam, some of those things with him, because there's some campaigns to get people to hate Muslims. Should we hate Muslims, or should we realize it's a psyop? There's a lot of questions I have. Plus, the biggest story of the night, it's the 250th year anniversary of the Navy, ladies and gentlemen, which was actually the conclusion of what Dinesh was trying to tell us all. Realistically, was that what you got from it?
Yeah. No comment on what I got from it. I struggled through it. I respect the guy.
That was tough.
But I have my own views on this.
All right.
So
couple minute break. We'll be right back. We talk a lot about. I want to play something actually really, really graphic here that I think is obviously going to, genuinely scare you. Something that I think being around October 7th is something that we've all come to hate. Check this out.
Bismillah!
I'm sorry. I'm being told. Sorry, I've been told by the producer that was the wrong clip. That was nothing to do with October 7th, or that was the kid's October 7th. Do you see him? He's so innocent, thinking. Look at this. He thought he was about to have a good time. And you see him here, like he's just like covered in steam, getting smacked around. Look at this person.
Pushed him out of the way.
Well, that's a real intentional massacre, unlike October 7th.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thanks.
Yeah. So, Sulaiman, it's good to have you here. I haven't had you in studio before. We're right around the time of the anniversary of October 7th, and if you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little about who you are, your background. I've known you on X for a long time, but it's nice to have you in studio.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It's awesome to be here live in person. In terms of my background, my background before I came on X was obviously an academic background. I got a degree in law, conversion into maths. I did an MA in philosophy, and then I was doing my PhD when I became quite big on X. And then my thing on X is I'm a journalist. I investigate a wide range of issues. I've been covering geopolitical issues for a while, both US politics, Middle East, UK, various other politics. And and then I'm on social media. I hold the biggest spaces on X. And yeah, we were huge during the Israel-Iran war. So yeah, that's basically a summary of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to have you here. We're going to be talking about some crazy stuff. I want to lighten the mood a little bit here for a second and just look at some things because I've just got to look at the utter state of America. So a lot of times we're talking about geopolitics. And the reason why we talk about geopolitics is because America has a problem. One of those problems, of course, I'm going to put this up on the screen. You're all noticing it. Put it up there. One of the problems that we have is what? Well, it's what Vivek said. Stacey's and Chad's focusing too much on sports games and enjoying life, not spending enough time just focusing on math. This is a nice gathering here at a local high school. I do want to remind you guys, these are minors and not the kind that dig in caves. It's the kind of ones that if you dig in their caves, you go to prison. So please Don't dig on them or their looks because they're children, but would like to play their routine out of the wholesomeness of our heart. They put this up at their high school website, and I just thought we'd share it with you guys, as it is really nice to see kids still having fun.
Girl, I can't live Look, hit it from the front, back, side, girl, I can't live
All right, these girls are so mean. I just want to say
she hit him well.
Can we just? I had to break up the topic. That was like too heavy for like an hour, so we'll talk about some heavy stuff. But this was about as heavy as it gets. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what's interesting is when I
Sorry,
came to
no one got that joke.
what was interesting. What's interesting is before I came to the US, I was like, flip, I need to lose some weight. So I've lost quite a bit of weight. But then I came to the US and I'm like, actually, I'm so skinny.
Yeah, it's not good.
And that's
huh?
just evidence of it.
Yeah, today's National Plus Size Appreciation Day.
Is it?
Just so you know, yeah.
That's great. We've really been loving our plus size people here. Yeah, it is crazy. The United States. Like I want to look at a little bit of our falling world. It might be a segment we do, just call it the failing world. The world that we live in, sort of falling apart. There really is those girls. This is what I know about women: is women actually are not accidental in anything they do. They act like, oh, I'm just so dumb and I'm ditzy. Like I'm just a dumb blonde and like, oops, didn't mean to do that. And you're like, you're not a dumb blonde. You're calculated, and you meant to do all of that.
Men gave the rib, women took the apple.
Correct.
Totally different.
Yeah, they'll take your Lululemon clothes and leave you Lulu crying. You know, these are the kind of bitches that are out there. But
yeah, definitely women are cerebral.
Well, but the thing is, you're a Muslim, right?
Yeah, I am indeed.
Okay. Unfortunately, no, I'm joking.
All right, I
know a lot of
I saw your previous segment. So
well, we were talking about low IQ Muslims, which I think is a very important distinction. In my opinion, I think there's a bit of a psyop about Islam that people are unwilling to accept. Not that I'm a leftist. I'm not trying to talk about accepting Islam into the West. I don't even mind saying it to your face. It's more or less just like there's been an intentional influx of low IQ people, whether they're Muslim or whatever. And I think Islam, I think Islam is a militant religion, in my opinion. I want you to tell me if you want to debunk this. But I also think when you influx people in a war, the people that get displaced are like low-income workers. Like, you know, there's still need for doctors during war. But, you know, maybe you're not building new houses, you know? Like, and if you're not in a very civilized country that is making, you know, massive amounts of armaments and there's a bunch of blue-collar jobs available, people often flee as refugees. You've got millions of these Muslims, millions going into Sweden, millions going into Germany, Syrians primarily, people from Yemen. And you get these real idealistic, extremist Muslims. And instead of dealing with them, the Western countries, out of not wanting to be Islamophobic, let these extremist cells develop, like gangs, like MS-13 in El Salvador or something like that, Tren de Aragua in Venezuela, and then they sort of like radicalize the youth because they're foreigners, they feel displaced, and you get this generation, kind of like we see with Hispanics in like LA, who join gangs and thugs, and you get this real unwelcoming side. I want you to be honest, as a Muslim yourself.
Yeah.
How much of this is? Don't gaslight me like Dinesh. I don't need another South
I can't do it again. I can't sit through it.
Yeah, but like, you're not afraid to debate. You're on Spaces all the time.
No, listen, I want you to ask me the question.
Yeah, so
that's what makes it interesting.
I'm asking you like
one thing I give you credit for is like a lot of people, you know, make these statements, but they're too scared to have someone on who can actually give a different perspective. Or I'm a bit more left wing in certain ideas as well.
Yeah, I know.
They're afraid to have us on because they just can't debate the idea. So I appreciate you coming up, asking me anything you want.
Yeah, I don't usually ask people to get a black thing right in their face. But,
okay.
But if you can, just mess with your mic and keep it like right in front of your mouth. Okay. Because if you to like lean in, because I don't want you to go out of the speaker there. But you know, I ask you, how much is it right where I personally don't believe that, like, yeah, maybe having one Muslim here is not going to be a problem. It's not going to like affect the world. It's not going to affect our country just having you here. But when you have too many Muslims in a Western country, you lose your Western identity. You lose your value set. And this is almost kind of hard to admit. It's like we lose a little bit of the liberalism, which I'm not even upset about, where but you bring in a conservatism that is not Christian, so it's still foreign. Like it's just like leftism to me, asking girls to cover their hair, their bodies out in public, and sort of this the idea of Sharia law, of honor killings. I do meet enough Muslims, including people that are my neighbors here, who do admit, like, yeah, we do want a Muslim-controlled government. And I just wonder how much of that is real, that if we let Muslims in, regardless of whether they're low IQ or high IQ, that if we let too many Muslims in an area, they will become a political system. And it is a political system. So is Islam a political system, or is it really just a religion where if you let a couple, I don't know, Ashkenazi Jews into the area, we're in a Jewish city, it still operates like America, because America's a Jewish country. So it is, right? But I mean, so is it a political tool, or is it just a gentle religion? I mean, being really
of course. Look, I'm going to be honest, and if there's anything you disagree with, do push back, because the whole point is to have a conversation, right? So obviously, I disagree with like that entire like presentation of the argument. When you look at migration into, for example, the UK, it's not a Muslim invasion. That's just fake news. That's been propaganda. That's propaganda by the Zionists, intentionally done. So, for example, a lot of these NGOs and institutions, like the David Horowitz organization, or Shillman, who basically pays people like Tommy Robinson, they perpetuate this idea, but in reality, it's not true. Because
Shillman pays Robinson?
Yeah. So
didn't Shillman also pay Kirk too?
He did indeed. He's the one who pulled the funding, the $2 million funding.
Before he was murdered.
Exactly. And so Shillman is the same guy. And Shillman basically also funded the David Horowitz Foundation, which is an NGO group that specifically focuses on anti-Islam rhetoric. And David Horowitz, as well as the new TikTok owner, Ellison, Ellison also funds the David Horowitz, and then they're all buying TikTok together, just so you can have like a complete picture of what's going on. Now, coming back to the point, so let's look at the UK, because I'm from the UK, so I know the stats quite well. Because you'll probably be assuming there's an invasion in the UK of Muslims. I'm presuming you probably.
And I would say like Birmingham, London, not the whole UK, like not the countryside, from what I've seen.
Yeah, so I mean that happens, right? Generally speaking, in London, Muslims, again, they're not the majority. I believe there's like 20%. In the UK, there's 6%. Now, in terms of, is there really a Muslim invasion? This is the real question, it's really important. So in 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, because we do census every 10 years, what percentage increase do you think has happened in terms of Muslims in the UK?
Too many.
No, as a percentage.
I'll deflect to you on this. What would you think? If it was 20% now in general in London,
so
6% in the country.
Yeah.
So in 10 years, like in 2000, I mean, not 10 years, but 5 years from now, that's what it was in 2020.
What was it in 2010, yeah?
Yeah, so in 2030, how many do you
2010,
think?
What was it in 2010?
I'm not sure.
If it was 6%, maybe like 5%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So it's a 1% increase, right?
Yeah, but that's also like technically like a 20% increase of what from its population size, right? So if 5%, you're getting like a 20%.
But if
it's increasing at 20% per
decade. But then you could say, like, if you had two people and then you have one person, that's a 50% increase. It's only one extra person.
Yeah,
So
but in a small island with like a limited population,
We've got
and
17
bad
million.
birth rate, but with low birth rates, if you juxtapose low birth rates and the birth rates of Muslims, you're talking about like plus with increased immigration. It's by the way, I want to clarify. I'm not worried as much in English just about Muslim immigration. It's non-white immigration. It's the Hindus, like it's the like Indonesians.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that. So
Yeah.
if it's about total immigration, then we have a major issue in the UK. That's a separate point, because I'm just trying to say there's not a Muslim invasion, but is there a mass immigration in the UK?
What is your accent? Because it's partially British, but also it's a little bit
I'm from the north of England. So it's actually, you know where Scotland is?
Yeah.
I'm from Middlesbrough, which is like very close to the border of Scotland.
Do you consider yourself to be British?
Yeah, I do, yeah. But I'm third generation, so my grandparents came in the 1960s.
So they were the original wave of people when the immigration had just changed.
Yeah.
Why'd they go?
Sorry?
Why'd they go?
So, I mean, they went because of a better future. The reason they want a better future, more opportunities, better income. The reason the UK wanted them was because there was harsh working conditions at that time and they needed more workers. So, for example, my grandfather, when he came, worked in the steel factory in basically a poor area, which is Middlesbrough, as did many of the migrants who came from Pakistan at that time. So, like, my family has been in the UK for 70 years now. So my children are like fourth generation.
So let me ask you a quick question, because he's writing down some notes too. But so obviously the UK, really developed in ways that a lot of nations didn't, especially during the 1800s, early 1900s, as the empire grew. under the conditions, let's say more 1800s that are manufacturing, right? And the idea that these jobs, why are these jobs then given to migrants, and why were they not given to, let's say, people that the English looked down upon, like the Irish? Why were these jobs not relegated? Was it just low birth rates, or why did all of a sudden they start bringing in Pakistanis and these kinds of people?
It's a good question. So basically, after the war, obviously, you had the entire country was basically destroyed, right? In terms of not the entire country, but a large part of the country was destroyed. You had low workers in terms of a low number of workers.
Were they just killed? The men were murdered?
Yeah, people died in World War II, right? And so they weren't able to replace that, and they needed people to come in. And so people started coming in the 50s, and obviously my grandparents came in the 60s, and it was to basically help rebuild the country, because the UK was in the war. Germany was bombing us. More like, you guys never experienced it in America, but Germany was bombing the UK. And so you had a situation where the country needed to be rebuilt. You had low number of male workers, and you needed to bring those workers in. But even then, at that time, there wasn't mass migration. There was only a small number of people who came in the 60s, if you look at it. The major mass migration in the UK has come over the last 5 or 10 years. And this is the point I was trying to make, that I agree with you about mass migration. And by the way, I agree there should be like zero migration to the UK at this moment. I think it's just too much, irrespective of whether it's Muslim or not. My point was that it's not Muslim. If you look at the last 5 years in the UK, the mass migrations come from Indians. We had 1 million Indians come into the UK over the last 5 years. That's the first country. That's first place. Second place is China, 350 million. Then third place is Nigeria.
350,000.
350,000. Yeah.
And then a third of the population.
Yeah. 350,000. And the last one is Nigeria, which is 330,000. So those are the top three countries.
Wait, they had 330,000 Nigerians go?
So that's the mass migration. So none of them three countries are Muslim. So there is Muslim migration for sure. But when the claim is that there's mass migration of Muslims or Muslim invasion, that's not true.
You want to see something crazy that will actually make you feel, you'll make your point. I'm going to pull something up.
No. I agree that it is a mixture of different groups that are coming over. And as you said, the numbers from 2011 to 2021 was about a 44% increase. And then they're expecting a 7% increase, to answer your question, for 2031. But they're not sure because they haven't completed the census.
See, the issue is that, so 7% increase from now?
To 2031,
so,
yeah.
Which would mean that there's, there's 6 million now. So that would be... like 420,000 people, which obviously is more than they should be, but that's not a huge amount. If I've just given you an example of 1.7 million coming in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's just Muslims. Yeah. That's the majority of it. Of course, you have different nationalities coming over. You know, as you mentioned, you have Africa, you have different. India is a big one, which we have them pushing here as well. So I think it is a combination of a lot of it. A lot of it has to do to birth rates. As you mentioned, I guess the war too. I have to look more into that. But
even birth rates, right? So in the UK, the vast majority of births are Indian. So that basically up until 3 years ago, it was most male births. So from a male father was Indian and a female was Romanian foreign births in the UK. That's just changed last year. Now it's the most births in the UK are from a male father to an Indian male father and an Indian female. So
really,
full birth rates are most Indian.
Do you hear so I look up like what's the most wealthy country in Europe? Just like looking at some European stuff, and it's like Liechtenstein, right? It's like talking about it's beautiful. Then I look, okay, I shouldn't have done it, but like the suggested search was Liechtenstein girls, and so I clicked on it. I just want to see, like, are they hot? Are they like, what do they look like, right? And they're like beautiful. They're very beautiful, like most European girls. And then I see this video, which is gonna be hard to see, but look at this.
Hello, guys. Today I'm in Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein is a small country between Austria and Switzerland. This is a autonomous country all by itself. It is not part of the EU. Today, I'm going to introduce you to Liechtenstein. Follow me, guys. Let's get it. Let's go. I'm in the capital of Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein. Okay, so who is this guy? But look at the comments. 2,000 comments, okay? And it's all like this.
He left to get milk and ended up in Liechtenstein. I'm an electrical
technician. Would they like to come here? Nukum Bandami. How do I come to Liechtenstein? Masha Wowa. A girl that looks like her name's LaQuasia said, kindly show us how to apply for stay. DM, please. I mentioned Liechtenstein. House stay. Malasana Sonoe. Empress for real. Said, I did a trip. Was great. Nice. I will come again. Terry Blush is a fake name. Said, how do I come Liechtenstein? Everyone's so interesting. How is racism? There's just thousands of comments of all these people. And he's like,
Justin Treyas said we was Liechtensteins and shit. Go ahead. Sorry. No, I was reading a comment and said we are Liechtensteins and shit.
Yeah, but it's like even that it's like the most white country, the richest, like Liechtenstein. How you come here? It's like, dude, no way.
Yeah.
No way. And then you look at the prince of Liechtenstein. He married a Panamanian and had the first like black child. And you're going, dude, and it's like one of the richest families. And you're like, what? Okay, can I just ask the question though? What are white people doing? Like, is that a fair question? What are white people doing? Like, I'm not against anyone, for the color of their skin or anything, but I might become that way if things keep up because I feel like people are like the way that we're breeding and the way that white people are allowing immigration is like a sort of like lower form of the Tower of Babel. It's like, ooh, we don't have to follow the rules of society and civilization. We can just do whatever we want. We just, have sex with whoever we want, whether it's a boy or it's a girl or it's 10 girls or 10 boys. We can, like we think we're above like the reality of how the systems work. And we're like, if we just invite people who don't think like us, don't act like us, don't look like us, we'll like this beauty, we can maintain this beauty, not realizing that, I saw this video here that I want to play that I think is interesting. We used to build cathedrals and churches, and our art was absolutely beautiful. And now, did I say? Is it on here? Oh man, maybe I saved. Oh wait, I think I saved it in my bookmarks actually. Let's not get into too much of my bookmarks. But yeah, look at this. We used to build beautiful things, and now art installations look like this.
It's like the weird Gumby.
I'm uncomfortable that children are involved in this art installation, but like,
is it like women going into a factory or something?
There's some guys too.
That is a terrible Disney ride.
There's a dildo up your butt when you go to, by the way. Like, I'm just saying, like,
no, Elijah, we're not going.
Yeah, well, who do you think filmed this video? This isn't from the internet. This is my video. No, but you look at this and you're like, meanwhile, like, I'm like, yeah, white people, what are we doing? And then you see this and you're like, yeah, the question is, what are we doing? And so, I mean, you're third generation, so you're probably the wrong person to ask because you've been around. But so that's why I kind of want to ask you, as somebody whose parents didn't come in hordes, that came in a time where there was a need that, I might even say if they came to rebuild Britain, like that's what I'm saying. There's a different kind of immigrant that came in after the war, right after the war, people who seem to care about our culture or share in our culture. And they seem to want to move away from their identity.
A lot of people in the past would come to our country because they loved what our country represented. They loved a lot of the values and everything, how we were progressing. Now what you have is you have groups coming here who pretty much hate our country. I'm just saying like in general, the immigrants. And then they want us to conform to them at the same time. Like you'll see,
So it's, I'll just give you an example. So like when my grandparents came in the 1960s, they came to the UK and they were like, wait a sec. Like, I disagree with you when you say like Islamic Muslim values are like different. I don't think that much more different than Christianity. So when my grandparents came to the UK, they were like, okay, these guys believe in family values. They believe in Christianity. They believe in defined gender roles. They believe in a lot of the values that we find in our religion. And we're not having to change that much. Like, it's very similar to what we believe in. And so they were like, cool, we're coming to the UK, and they end up staying here. And so that's what they basically bought into. But now if you look at what British values aren't that. It's liberalism, it's LGBTQ, it's trans. So in reality, what has changed? It's not, for example, my grandparents or the people they came into at that time. It's actually society's changed. And obviously we know the reason why it changed. That's a separate point. But that's actually what's changed. Also, the second point is on this in terms of like, when you talk about second or third generation. So when our grandparents came in, yes, of course, they suffered some racism, right? And they would just take it because they were like, look, we're kind of visitors in this country. People are being racist to us. We're going to, we're outsiders and we're going to keep ourselves to ourselves. But then when the second or third generation come, they basically assimilate and they consider themselves to be part of the community. So if you look at people from the north, they act, I'm talking about Muslims as an example, or even minorities, they act exactly the same as white people. So a white chav acts exactly as these like Muslim hooligans. And so when you saw the fighting happen like last year, what you saw was the Muslim people fighting it with, the basically Tommy Robinson's crew, but they were all acting in the same way because they all have been brought up together and they all kind of act in the same way. Whereas 50 years ago, they would have been like, okay, we're not going to get involved. So I think there is actually, if anything, a lot of this kind of psychology or presentation has happened as a result of assimilation rather than.
So you think there's a lot of effect of liberalism seeping into the Muslim communities from the progressivism of the white culture, or not the other way around?
Well, there is to an extent, but some of it was used to demonize Muslims, right? So, for example, someone like Tommy Robinson would be like, and if you ask any of these guys, Laura Loomer, all of them, they all say the same thing. They say Islam is not compatible with the West, and they always give two main reasons. One is feminism, women's rights, and the second is LGBTQ. But actually, if you look at the United States of America and the UK, 50, 60 years ago, they believed in the exact same thing. And I actually believe that these guys, which was a kind of a Zionist agenda, was to demonize these things, which is to cause feminism and to cause LGBTQ. They did that on purpose to destroy Western society. And they used the Muslims as a demonization method in order to destroy Western society. And that's why you've got a huge, basically, population collapse in these countries.
Yeah, well, you do. Listen, I will agree with you on this. Like, we had some Muslim neighbors here who were. Do you remember? Were you around here when they were really trying to?
No.
Were you around? You remember when they were trying to revert me? Right. That was pretty crazy.
Inshallah.
Yeah, they were trying to become prey in their mosque, and they were really bringing me like constant like science and in Islam books. And I'm like, dude, hey man,
what's your thoughts on that?
I'm like, hey man, like I do believe there is a racial component to Islam, in my opinion. I know not all Muslims are Arabic or are not Arab, but I do think that a lot of it, in my opinion, is blood libel with the Jews, and it's like whether or not the promise is through Hagar. Like my opinion is that it's actually it's a kind of a justification or faith in God from people who probably are frustrated at the Jews having the supposed blessing, and it's a disagreement, and I don't think it has any place in Caucasian or white culture. I think that's why the only, to me, Muslims that have accepted Islam on a large scale are Eastern Europeans. It's Azerbaijan, right? Which is not Azerbaijan. Is it Azerbaijan?
Azerbaijan is
yeah.
Muslim,
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're like a little bit mixed. But I don't see. To me, that I guess other than paganism, that whites only have two main religions, and it is multi, like theos. It is the idea that there's paganism, and I think there's something beautiful about white paganism that I think very few people appreciate. That I actually do. I like when people are like, the whole West was built on Judeo-Christian values. You're like, tell that to the Greeks, I'm just saying, like, tell it to the Romans for almost all of Roman history, right? In fact, somebody said that Christianity led to
the UK up until a certain point.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe you might, some pagans are right. Some might even say Christianity, led to beautiful structures, but actually led to the destruction of the idea of turning the other cheek, and might have led us to weakness. This is actually a real criticism that I've heard, and I'm just saying that maybe that's true. But I know that Christian values, work ethic, whether I like it or not, is what built America. Like, it definitely was. This country was built largely, if this story is even true, about splits between the Anglicans, the crown, and the authority of the Protestants. So at least this country, right, in its few hundred years alive, was built on Christianity. I can say that.
Well, based on the separation of church and state. But just on the 2 points that you said, right? So the first thing is in terms of evangelizing, which is what was happening to you. Muslims and Christians believe in that, right? Which is very different to Jews, because Jews actually believe that you have to be Jewish and you can't get into that group, and they have this kind of supremacy. Whereas Christianity and Islam are worldwide religions, and hence why both of them do try and convert people, irrespective of who it is and irrespective of the race, because it's not racial in terms of those two religions.
Well, there's only so much money that you can hoard, so you can't have too many of them. Yeah, that's not a joke. They want to limit. They want more. If you got to spread around the welfare, they take care of each other, and you can't. There's too many of them.
I also think translating the Talmud would turn a lot of people away too, because you have a lot that are confused.
Imagine that in Africa.
Yeah.
What does this say? There are 5 genders. This is a crazy thing. What do you mean by younger?
But in terms of the second point you said, in terms of Muslims being a racial religion, I mean, I disagree. If you look at Muslims, generally speaking, there is a lot of Arabs. And by the way, there is certain components within, like certain Arabs who have this kind of superiority ideology, generally speaking. But some, but not all. But in terms of having beef with Jews, that's actually not the case. In reality, if you look at all of history, the real beef was always between Jews and Christians. It was actually the Muslims who protected the Jews for a very long time. They never had any issues. Maimonides, for example, was extremely probably foremost scholar, right? He was extremely anti-Christian, but very liked Islam quite a bit. Now, coming back to the thing, the issue with the Muslims and the Jews actually only happened after the World War, which was obviously, with the situation with Palestine. That's when things escalated, and the situation with the Middle East and the expansionism. Or before that, in history, it was not the case. It was actually like they actually had very good relations. That's why someone like Rabbi Shmuley is like, actually, Muslims were pretty cool to us. It was actually the Christians who we had a problem with.
I wanted to show you so give me a second here. I don't know if maybe we don't have it here. But there's this project. Let me see. Art project. Give me a second. Art project. Changing statues. I guess I can't find it here, but there's this fountain. Let me actually see if I can bring this up on my phone. Sometimes I save a lot of things on TikTok, and I have all my Liechtenstein people that blow my mind. There's also this.
Yours is an African guy.
Look, so here it is. Listen to it. So this is a "Why Are You Fighting" video. It's an AI video where she's interviewing white people throughout all of history and wars.
Why are you fighting? So my great-grandchildren can be a minority in their own country.
That was the one I sent you. Yeah.
Why are you fighting? So men can wear women's clothes and use their bathrooms. Why are you fighting?
So a Muslim can be mayor of London.
Why are you fighting?
So men can travel by small dinghies across the English Channel.
Why are you fighting?
So my children can pay for a Marxist education and call me a racist.
Okay, so what I want to ask you about, this is a real esoteric question, because like people always mistake me as being some like white supremacist, like super racist guy. Yet I've like worked in the mainstream forever, and I feel like I'm willing to have conversations that make people uncomfortable, and I don't mind it.
They're fun.
Like, so I think so this is something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and it's something I grapple with, is like, I'll compare immigration to being gay, okay, which we're all very familiar with in this office.
Work with you.
It's true. It's true. It's unfortunate. Everyone was like, "Why did you hire Mendoza?" They say not to work with family, but husbands get along. No, but jokes aside, we aren't married. But in the gay argument, right? There's famously that meme that has that pie chart that someone made in 2011 before the Supreme Court went against the will of the people and instituted, national gay marriage, which was like things that will happen when gay marriage is legalized. And it had the legend on the side, and it's like, kids are going to be pushed into being gay, like all these different colors associated with these crazy things. And then it had like literally nothing happens, and the whole pie was the color of nothing happens. But all in the legend, it was all these things like they're going to start teaching gay stuff in schools and all these things that they were like, saying, as if all that's going to happen. Well, we're 13 years later, and I would say around 2016, 2017, we really started becoming awake. That's what happened with Trump. Within about 4 years, right, of when this came, we started pushing gay stuff on children, like pushing it aggressively. And now at the beginning of the show, we showed this stuff. Things snowball very quickly. And I think that we're past the point of gaslighting to where that's why people are becoming militant on, especially white Christians are becoming sort of like in a feel that we have to become militant over these issues. Because I want to ask you this question. On one hand, a lot of people like America, even California voted against gay marriage. Okay, everybody did. I think only a couple states voted yes on it, but it was universal. California voted against Prop 8, or I think it was yes on Prop 8. Maybe it was even the way they worded it. They even tried to, I remember, make the proposition that it was confusing. One of those ones where like voting yes means you're against gay marriage. You know, like where it's like, what the hell? Why? Like, so yes, I don't want gay marriage. Like that's confusing. They even make it so that you have to vote against your conscience, and it still failed in the liberal state. And I say this because everybody knew. Look, I don't mind gay. Like, listen, like I'm kind of liberal like that. Like I grew up like that. It's like, look, if you want to be gay and you want to do that stuff, like okay, but like I'm on the persuasion. Like let's not legalize. Like let's not make it anything more than it is, which is a sexual fetish. Like let's not make it a marriage. Let's not legitimize it. Let's not recognize it by the state. It's a debaucherous, degenerate act. Just like we don't legalize cocaine just because people do it, you know. But if I have a friend that does cocaine, I'm not like, dude, I'm freaked out right now. I'm just like, I don't think we should legalize it because I don't think it's something good to be like selling at stores. Now with immigration, you know, although it's not drugs, it's not sex, but it's like, okay, where do you draw the line in white countries, particularly on religion and races, which I think right now, more than Islamic immigration in the United States, is Hindu immigration. I think it's probably one of the biggest threats to our entire culture and safety is actually Hinduism, and it's not a cop-out. I should start paying for campaigns to speak out against Hinduism. But, and I mean Indians, I mean those
Well, there isn't lobby groups pushing that, but I agree with you, yeah.
Correct. But I go, okay, I understand your parents going to the United Kingdom because, like, let's just, I'm going to make up the story, but what it sounds like, it's like, hey, a bunch of white people died. They're having trouble getting skilled workers, laborers, and they don't have the resources anymore. They're bankrupt, right? They need people to come and help build. Your parents know that, you know, they're foreigners. They're just coming in a small number, let's say into a certain village that, like, let's say that village lost 200 men in the war and it was a village of only 300 men. Well, they literally the steel factory is going to shut down. The women need to have families. They need to remarry. So, okay, you let in 200 men from Pakistan or something. It's some British colony to come help that are of high stature. You know, these are good people. They've been loyal to the crown. They speak English or whatever. It's like we're letting in quality people who a steel job is worth their value. And we know they're not going to be whatever. And maybe totally we lost 10,000 men in the Solaris. We're like in 10,000 people. Boom. Now let's rebuild the country. Now, I get it. Because that's how most immigration has happened forever in terms of like with real citizenship, even in the United States, even Australia. They always had a small Japanese population because of Japanese who helped them in World War II. So they let them have citizenship out of protection from the Japanese regime. Like that just makes sense. You have a couple thousand Japanese working. And there was like always like 1% Japanese population in a otherwise white nation. And it's like Japanese people were not immigrating to the country. But then now, whether you take the United Kingdom, like in England, now you just have these like non-white people who don't share our faith coming over in dinghies by the hordes. How is somebody supposed to like Hugh? How is someone supposed to differentiate between the two or create laws that differentiate between the two? How is like a lot of people feel like the only option is remigration. It's like, I guess if you weren't here for 3 generations, I think that's what the standard is actually, 3 generations. I think if you're not a 3rd generation or have been here long enough, like you said, a year, like if you didn't come in the 60s and or a 3rd generation, you have to automatically go back, like your visas are revoked. Why is that not a good solution if it is, like to fix the problem? Because I don't think we want even 20% of our cities. We don't want 6% of our countries to be non-white. We don't want, like, that's just how we feel. It's our country. We don't want that. And that's not how we feel. And our governments, like gay marriage, aren't listening to us. White people don't want non-white immigration. Very few do. Its majority always don't want it in every country of every polling. But our governments don't listen to us, just like they didn't listen to us with gay marriage. And I think we're getting mad, which, by the way, I want to say this. This is going to sound like a cuck statement. To the white people that are just like mad at the immigrants, be a little more mad at your government, because if they're the ones letting the people come, why are you mad that a 3rd world person wants better life? If you're told a 3rd world war, I would go too, man. Tell me there's free food, free boats, free whatever, I'd go. But like, why is remigration not the right thing? And does that scare you as a non-white person?
So there's a few points on that. So it's the first thing is I don't think immigration is a good idea and it's mainly from a left-wing position, because what happens is, let's say you've got a native worker who's getting like, let's say $10 an hour. If you bring in like 10 Indians, Now you could only have to pay, and they're willing to take $1 an hour. It means you're only going to be paying the native worker like $2 an hour. It decreases the wages, and the only people who benefit are the corporations, the people in charge, those in power, Jewish Zionists, generally speaking. And so I'm against migration from a left-wing perspective. Now, in terms of what you said, there's a few important components. I'm not sure that you're right about, and I think it depends on the country that people are against migration. So a good example is we did a referendum, right, in the UK about 4 years ago, Brexit, which was about migration, although at that time it was European migration that they were against because people from Romania, Slovakia, Poland were coming into the UK. People were against that migration because, again, for the same reasons I said, like wages and all these kind of things, different cultures and so on and so forth. And despite massive push by the Zionist lobby to cause Brexit, and like Rupert Murdoch was supporting it, all of the like Zionists were supporting it, they were pushing it so hard.
They were pushing Brexit?
Yeah. And the reason
I might have gotten hoodwinked on that one.
Yeah, and the reason they pushed it, I'll explain to you the reason why they pushed it, but when they pushed it, the result was 50.1% to 49.9%. So it was very close. So I'm not sure how much people are against it, but I think now it'll be a lot more because the migration that's happened now is just unbelievable. And the reason they did it is because once you stopped European immigration, where did all the immigration come from? They came from like even cheaper places like India and various others. So it worked out financially.
That's where the boats come.
Well, the boats come from the Middle East. So when it comes to illegal migration, it's not the same as the US. So in the US, you have what, like 11 million illegal migrants who came over the last 4 years. In the UK, it's only 40,000. And that's massively different because our population is 70 million. Your population is about 350 million. But 40,000 is completely different to 11 million, right? So most of our migration isn't illegal. It's actually legal migration. The illegal migration is happening from the Middle East. Obviously, people going from these war-torn countries and coming into the UK. Now, I agree with you in terms of there is a major issue that when you let people in from war-torn countries as well, there's going to be some kind of psychological effect from that. Just imagine you see like your whole family members be murdered. You're not going to be psychologically normal.
And it's British. You're going to Britain and it's British bombs fucking bombing. I shouldn't curse on the show. I got to be better on that. But you know, British bombs, like you go to the U.S. to Dearborn, Michigan, and the U.S. literally bombed your village in Syria, or they provided the missiles or the rockets to Israel to bomb your village,
which is a huge problem.
As a brain, you're like, I'm in a country that destroyed my village.
Yeah, that as well. But also on top of that as well, and I think some of them are aware that this is Zionist control, but some of them won't be aware of that. I believe in Dearborn, Michigan, though, if I'm right, and do check on this, I just read this in one place, but I didn't fact check it, that the migration, the people in Dearborn, Michigan are Middle Eastern, but 35% of them are Christian. I don't know if that's right, if you want to double check that. But that's what I read somewhere, that actually 35% of the Middle Easterners in Dearborn, Michigan are actually Christian. Now, in terms of remigration, because I don't want to like not mention go to your point. So in terms of remigration, there's a few points. So obviously, I don't agree with the remigration. People have like moved to the country. People have helped support the country. They've established the country wherever it is. What should happen is, because in the UK, it is still, 75% white, 25% non-white. What you do is just change the migration issues. In terms of a remigration itself as well, like what does that mean? So let's just take someone as like me as an example. So if you were to remigrate someone like me, you'd go back to Pakistan, but like we feel alien when we go to Pakistan. We don't have the same values. We don't have the same psychology. We don't have the same sociology. Our upbringing is different. Our education is different, like just completely different. And I guess a lot of people do feel like that you're alien to that nation and you're kind of a bit alien to this nation as well. So there is this kind of thing that happens with people who are immigrants. So yeah, I don't agree with remigration at all, because it's kind of like, just think about it from a perspective of like, you've got the UK who's essentially pillaged a lot of India. Then a lot of people migrate, they help rebuild the country. They've been part of the entire fabric of the country. And then basically there's this claims of remigration. But what's really interesting is in that video you played, they said something about Muslim mayor, right? So it's interesting. One thing that you noticed is like, there's a Muslim mayor, and you might have seen it on the headlines recently. There was Shabana Mahmood. She basically got the position of Home Secretary. She's a Muslim, right? Now people are like, oh, guess what? A Muslim person has got the position of Home Secretary. But the problem you have is, or not the problem, but what you have is when a lot of these Muslim people, whether it's Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, whether it's Shabana Mahmood, when they get into these positions of power, they don't put Muslims first. They don't put the community first. They sell out. So Shabana Mahmood, as an example, used to go to pro-Palestinian protests And now she just banned him. She literally said, if you do it more than once, you will get banned if you do pro-Palestinian protests. So these people, when they get in positions of power, they actually sell out to the Zionists. The difference is when a Jewish person or a Jewish Zionist gets into a position of power, they always put their people first. So someone like Keir Starmer, which no one mentions that he's Jewish and he's the UK Prime Minister.
It is crazy that the UK Prime Minister is Jewish. So is the Mexican president. So is the Ukrainian president.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Israeli president. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, he actually puts Israel first. And that's where the difference is. When Jewish people or Jewish Zionists get into positions of power or have positions of wealth, they always put in the foreign nation. They put in the foreign nation of Israel first before their own country. We're going to speak about October the 7th, I assume, in a bit. But when I explain to you how that story...
Or do you want to come back tomorrow to do a special in the evening? Like, do you want to come back? Are you able to or no?
I can do Wednesday. Tomorrow I'm on Fresh and Fit and a few other shows.
What time, though? Can you come during the day, I'm saying? Like, to pre-record?
The problem is I've got a few spaces on October 7th as well. So
yeah, what's your schedule like? I mean, you can do spaces here. I mean, you could broadcast. So I'm wondering what time you're doing.
So I'm gonna be. I'm free before 3 p.m.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so maybe we could do something before then. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I think it'd be good to do a special I can release at night. That's just like discussing the events.
Yeah,
I think it'd be nice to do.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's do that.
Because I think we could like do it. We could do it intimate, one-on-one.
Yeah.
And then really take an intellectual perspective and like really look at the details. And can you note that down, by the way, to work on that in the morning? Just like kind of a breakdown of the events of October 7th, the controversies. See what's going on.
And I'll cover some of the points that Dinesh made as well.
Yeah, maybe if you can email, it's michael.hennessy@rifttv.com.
Yeah,
he can tell you so you can email him some talking points that you want to. So
I'll send him a PowerPoint that I used last time.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I think it would be good if we can, and then we could just air it tomorrow night at 7. I think October 7th on 7th. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, great.
We're trying to create more content. Maybe we'll try airing. I'll ask him if we can maybe air it at 11 too. That might be interesting, huh? Hey, we should ask him if we can air it at 11 tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah, because they want to start airing content Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 on Rumble. They want to put it on the front page. So
awesome.
That's just what they told us. So we're gonna go with that. But I want to bring up this picture that you said the opposite.
Yeah.
FedEx CEO was appointed a white, actually Raj Subramanian. What? Subramaniam? I don't even know how to say that.
Yeah, you said that right.
Okay. I don't like these languages. Raj was appointed, and it's like he looks like me if I was
Indian
pooping on the streets. But he went ahead and he appointed an entire executive board of all Indians, and we know that the Indians do this. He fires everyone and appoints a board of all Indians. And then someone said in the comments, is really funny. Where is it? He said, so it was okay for Fred, the previous CEO, to hire an executive team of his co-ethnics, of like all white people. And he just goes, yes. It's like, yes, it's okay to hire the people of your own country to help your own people.
Yeah.
He says it's our country's company. But what's happened now is that the companies have betrayed our people. They're now international globalist companies. They don't even care about the countries where they're started. All they care about is free, cheap resources, cheap labor. And that's what I was going to say is there's been so many restrictions to try to, curtail NAFTA and whatnot that they're like, okay, well, we'll just bring the people here, and that's going to we're going to fix the problem. We're going to ship a bunch of jobs overseas while shipping the people here, and the jobs will become cheap everywhere. So then now, like, have you seen how hard it is to get a job right now? It's really hard.
Yeah, I agree it is. And who benefits?
The wealthy.
And who are they?
Zionists and Zionist Jews.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, ladies and gentlemen, you can't go an episode without discussing them, but it's true. It's not. But I'm saying I do want to make the distinction, and that's why I got Alex Jones today. Yeah, I got him. You couldn't hear him, huh?
I couldn't hear him.
But I got him. He's like, you said no. I'm just going an hour and a half tomorrow. He's like, you said it's all just Jews that are the problem. I said, no. I said elitist Zionists and Zionist Jews. I did not say all Jews are Zionists. I did not say that all Jews are a problem. And I also did not say that all Zionists are Jews. I said the Zionists to me are people that play into the financial system to destroy. They're about creating this ethnic ethnocentric cabal that kind of hoards power, wealth, and they're the Shabbos Goy. They're willing to play the ball. Like they're willing to.
I don't even see them as Shabbos Goy. I know people use that in kind of terminology, right? And by the way, I agree with you. My view is that it is Zionism, but you have to think and I think when you use the terminology Shabbos Goy, I think it deflects responsibility. We have Zionists who are Christian. We have Zionists who are Muslim, and they do things that support Jewish supremacy. And so, like, for example, when the Prince of Saudi Arabia supports Zionism, he's not a Shabbos guy. He's doing it and he's supporting Jewish supremacy. When Mike Johnson or Huckabee are supporting Jewish supremacy based on their own religious ideology, which is evangelical Christianity, they're doing it because of their own belief system. But their own belief system has within it Jewish supremacy. So there definitely is Zionism and there definitely is non-Jewish Zionism. And I do think they have a huge impact. And I think this kind of idea of deflecting responsibility from them is just not acceptable. And I think it's done intentionally. And the problem with society now is everything's about deflection. No one takes responsibility for anything they do. But I had a question for you, like, because I know like you do speak a lot about Islam. Like, what are your major like issues that you have or concerns that you have about Islam or Muslims or anything in that regard?
Well, first of all, to be completely transparent.
Yeah, please do.
I've been paid many times in my life to speak about Islam.
You've been paid?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I to this day, I don't make this as a boast. Like, it's like, I feel like I'm the only person that like people get shocked when I talk about that I get paid to lobby or like push ideas. Like people are like minds are blown. It's like, bro, everybody is pretty much like, even spaces, people are getting paid to go onto spaces and spaces have sponsorships and like it's not like someone's handing you like $5 and they're saying like, hey, do this. But like if you work for an organization that's pro-Zionist and you know that you need to gas up the Zionist regime to keep a job, you are getting paid to push Zionism. Like that's like, it's not like someone's handing me $5 and they're like, dude, talk shit about Muslims, but they're like, hey, here's $1,000. There's a rising threat of extremism. It would be really interesting if to stay, here's your $1,000 per month at our organization, and we really want you to raise awareness. It's called think tanks. Everybody works for them. They're co-laureates. They like people that my friends work for, the Cato Institute or the Claremont Institute or Heritage Foundation. This is what everybody does. And when I say I'm from the mainstream, I mean I'm from the ecosystem financially where people offer you money, but I've never said anything about Muslims that I don't believe, and I haven't taken any money about Muslims or to say anything about Islam that I didn't already believe. So like I've denied a lot of money about Islam because I think that what they're saying is propaganda or false. So like I have been a part of campaigns that are trying to raise awareness about Islamic extremist cells in the Midwest. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's like, if you want me to take some time to like make a video and write up some idea to like talk about this, they don't give me the talking points. They're like, here's what you gotta say. It's just like, hey, we're really trying to like, basically we know your time is limited. But what I did notice, that's why I've like started to turn down a lot of the offers, is it's like, okay, like recently, like in the last week, individuals were paid to spread a lie about Qatar. And now people are going to accuse me of being paid by Qatar to like defend them, but Qatar, please, I've been defending you a lot. And I haven't got $1.
Same.
Yeah, I've been defending you a lot.
I get accused a lot, and I'm like, bros.
I was like, please, I need that.
I don't even defend Qatar. I like disagree with them on a number of issues.
Yeah, I'm not even Muslim. I'm defending a Muslim nation just because I feel like they're attacked unnecessarily. Same with China, and I get accused of working for China too. But yeah,
So what is the Midwest? Why do you think there's a rising problem of extremism within the Midwest?
Because I think that we are incapable of dealing with Islamic extremism because we don't want to be seen as Islamophobic. And where Islamic nations that are sophisticated, that are working with the Western regimes, know how to deal with the extremism, they kick them out, they ban them. We're like afraid, just like Bukele in El Salvador, like he banned the Edgar haircut because he knows that when guys start trying to look the same, it creates this clickiness and it clicks into gangs. But he's dealing with it at a level we're not willing to deal with it in like at a low level because we don't want to be seen as anti-Islamic because we're about diversity and multiculturalism. And so we're just like, well, we're just gonna wait till they get too extreme, and then we'll use them to commit a terror attack so we can justify sending more money to Israel.
Bukele is like an extreme Zionist, but let's put him aside, right? In terms of like this extreme,
he's not a Zionist.
He is.
No, he's not.
He is.
He's Palestinian.
I know he is.
He's not a Zionist. Dude, they're not. They're like,
no.
I've worked down there. They're like,
I've been looking into him quite a bit recently. Well, and there's
maybe he was because he was trying to work on a two-state solution. But as of recently, as of the last couple of years, they've gone.
He's been trying to separate himself.
There's a lot of like, for example, if you look at it, there's Howard Lutnick's involved in it. You've got the Israeli cartel involved in it.
But they just like kicked out what's his name? What's that Jewish guy's name that was there at the Secret Society?
Curtis Yarvin.
Yeah, like they're like kicking these people out of the events and stuff now. Like just this year, what Curtis Yarvin, who's like been a part of like sort of decision making that like wanted this sort of globalist Jewish thing, they're getting like physically kicked out and like removed. Like that's not the direction we're going.
Yeah, that's because again, there's this kind of politics within the two different factions of Zionists. But anyway, coming back to the other issue that you mentioned in terms of Islamic extremism. So I guess my question to you is, first of all, which countries are kicking those people out that are in the Midwest, and who are these people in the Midwest who are? What type of extremism are they pushing? This is what I'm trying to get to the like actual specifics rather than this kind of
Yeah. So I mean, I don't remember the exact because this was like a year or two ago, so I don't remember the exact specifics of what it was. But I remember it was a video. There was an individual from the UAE. There was an individual from Qatar. These are two different campaigns. They're talking about how they deal. There was 3 different groups. One was like Muslim. One was like Muslim Brotherhood. Another one, I think one of them was just like ISIL. It was like a U.S. created terrorism, and it was fundamentalist Islamism of seeing the West as sort of like troops on the ground in Saudi Arabia and near Mecca as like a desecration of the sacredness of Islam, and then like the idea of like bringing like unscarved like female troops and standing in helping Israel basically occupy Jerusalem and other holy sites, and having Christians in those areas as well is sort of like this idea that there has to be blood spilled, and so they're radicalizing young men to sort of leave and go fight in these factions in the Middle East, and or to train and raise money inside of those cities to get people to donate towards NGOs, start NGOs that are running as fronts to send money back to extremist groups in the Middle East. That's what they were talking about, just raising awareness of. So it was more just like raising money
so I agree with
through
that.
NGOs.
I agree with that, right? Because
so try to stop this. So I didn't mind taking money to raise awareness about that.
But the thing is, this is the issue. Like the guy from Dubai who's speaking about this, or the guy from UAE who's speaking about this, or the guy from Saudi Arabia speaking about this, is extremely hypocritical, because what is it that they're spreading? They're spreading this very version of Islam that they're complaining about. They have, since the 1970s, if you look at Saudi and these countries, they've funded Salafist Wahhabist Islam in Europe, in the UK, and in the United States of America for the last 40, 50 years. So these are the people who spread that Islam, and then they're complaining about it. And if you look at these, for example, some of these charities who do what you're saying, what they do is there'll be some of these charities, they'll fund it, and then they'll fund these different places in the Middle East who are fighting. Again, that was literally how 9/11 was done. So 9/11 was done where there was Israeli Mossad agents with Saudi working together, putting funding through these mosques from the United States of America to these bombers who were handled by Israeli Mossad agents, and that's how they carried out 9/11. So 9/11 was Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the US working together to allow that to happen.
Was the US involved directly, or were they just like blind eyeing it? Because Dinesh told me that the US, the CIA was incapable of picking that one up.
Well, they were involved. And I just encourage everyone to watch Ryan.
Did they let it happen, or were they part of the coordination?
No, they were part of the coordination. And so, because Saudi doesn't do anything without the US.
Do they want a war in Afghanistan, or do they want the war in Iraq? Because I knew they wanted the war in Iraq for a while.
Yeah, they definitely wanted the war in Iraq. That was the main reason for it. Because you wanted the aim is this, right? You need to create a boogeyman. And that was the best way to demonize Muslims and make them the boogeyman, and hence why you had all these NGOs.
I used to hate Muslims. That's why I was like 4. Did you too? It's like these freaking ragheads, you know. I was like, didn't even understand.
They got a bunch of us on 9/11. They tricked us a lot. The whole country was backing behind it. And go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ryan Dawson's got a movie coming out on 9/11. I just watched his preview. It's coming out tomorrow, but it's like 4 hours of just proving Israeli direct involvement.
I blocked him. He's accused me of being a Fed.
No comment. I can't talk about his social, the way he socializes, but yeah, his movie's good. Definitely watch it.
Yeah.
Well, if he got that wrong, he was like accusing me of all types of things, and I was like, dude, you literally could just call me. Like, why are you spreading lies?
I think it's because like sometimes in social media, like when we're in this field, we do have like a lot of question marks. When someone says something, I'm like that. I'll be honest with you. when someone's saying something, and I know it's definitely something that has been like your point, right? You said some of these NGOs and lobby groups are giving you money for something, but you're like, I agree with that anyway. So okay, I'll take the money or whatever, and then I'll say it. But then because we know that these things are being espoused by them, then the question becomes like, you're getting paid for this.
Yeah, why would I tell? Why if it was some secret motive? Why would I just tell the truth? Like it was like, you need to be careful about the people that are hiding that. Like that's my opinion. It's like
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And my point is this: like you've been honest about it, right? But then there's people who aren't honest about it, and so now those people who are not honest about it, the question mark is, wait a sec, he's saying the same, like he's saying something which is definitely propaganda. Therefore, is he a fair?
By the way, that propaganda about Qatar, one of the main posts did 3.6 million impressions. That's how serious this propaganda gets out. 3.6 million impressions, and is by a mutual friend of ours, Mike.
Who's that?
I'm not gonna say who because of NDAs with the company, but somebody who was with Scott Presler recently.
Okay. And just on the Qatar thing, right? Like I think it's the same with you. We're not like pro Qatar, right? And actually, Qatar, if you look at them, are very much linked with the United States of America. They've got the biggest US base in Qatar, right?
Yeah, that's why I was saying. They're our friends. We have bases there.
They gave Trump a $400 million plane.
Mm-hmm.
They just gave $1 trillion to the United States.
Come on, Qatar.
And by the way, I don't agree with Qatar. I think that they.
I'll take the Qatar money.
Yeah, I'll take the guitar money, buy a guitar.
Yeah,
buy a boat.
no problem. I get a jet. I'm in.
I actually am not opposed to Qatari money as long as they weren't influencing what we're gonna say.
Yeah.
Because people take Zionist money. I've been offered Zionist money. I will tell you though, we even had some money offered our way recently where we were looking at each other. It was about Iran, and there's very little we can say just because of contracts. And I really do. It's legal stuff, and I have no mean to expose it. There's no I like these people. Like, there's nothing whatever. And obviously, even within an organization, there's gonna be some people who are not as ethical as others or whatever. And it's business, but. And it's nothing shady. Like for me to accept Zionist money is shady, but for everyone else in the industry, it's just normal. Like it's they're not doing anything unethical in terms of our industry. For me, it's against my ethics, but I still love the people. They're freaking awesome, and I'll defend them to death because I think they're genuine. But it's some people it's just a business. Politics is just a business, and it's a way to just exchange money. And there's transactors, right? There's people that have the propaganda, and then there's people like us who are supposed to spread it. And in the middle, these people probably couldn't give a shit either way. They're not really pro or anti-Israel. It's just how do I get the money from these people to these people? It's a real shady business. How do I sell a Trump coin or whatever? They're just transactors. Mm-hmm. We were talking about that earlier, Mendoza. Just people that sort of are the middlemen of the money, and they just take a little scrape off the top. Yeah, I think it was about Iran, and it was don't you think that the regime is evil? Raise awareness about how evil they are.
I couldn't do it, man.
We really, it was a lot of money, and me and him I was like, did you end up doing that? And he's like, no. And I was like, I didn't do it either. And I was like, there's a lot of money, especially my car just gotten stolen or whatever. A few things have happened recently. I've been offered a lot of money this last week particularly. And I'm like, my car just got stolen. I lost all my money. And I'm like, that's $2,000 for no work. It's just two tweets. And it's I can't do it though, because it's that's some fucking bullshit. I'm looking at it, and it's it's not it doesn't say Israel's telling you to do this, but you're
no, but they're trying to direct you that way.
Who would be wanting me to and then I get on, it's E.L. Jacoby is online being or some guy named Elov Bernstein is oh my gosh, this country is donating this money. And you're okay, I can see, I was going to say, I had a good advice for the little hat people. In Hollywood, how they changed all their names to blend more? On X, you guys should change your names, because when I see something look at, there's margarita machines on the flotilla, and your name's E.L. Jacoby, it doesn't hit, the propaganda doesn't hit as hard. Name your name Steven Adams, and then maybe it's whoa, Steven Adams is saying there's a margarita machine. I might read it. True. But I see E.L. Jacoby, and maybe take the flag out of your bio, and maybe the Hebrew out of your name, and maybe you might pull. But I think they're just blatant now. They don't care anymore. They're just F you.
I think the reason is that everyone's aware that these guys control things, and so therefore they're just using what they've got, the power they've got, in order to basically propagandize people. But the bigger issue you've got with all of this is everyone's aware that they basically perpetuate this propaganda, and they've done it for a very long time. And I think when you mention about these people who are in politics, they see it as a business, but it comes to a point where you need to have some kind of personal responsibility, because what you've been doing for the last 20 years has harmed the United States of America, and the UK in a significant manner. These countries are much worse off, but due to the fact that you've perpetuated and promoted this Zionist Israeli propaganda. And so therefore I do think that like people do have a responsibility, and these people should be called out, because in reality they're harming society. Like, you talk about all the harms that have happened to Western society and these Muslim nations, all of them, they've all happened because of these people, because of the propaganda that they've perpetuated. And I'm a big believer that this was done intentionally, because if you look at Western society, that it's been destroyed, and if you look at Muslim nations that have been physically destroyed, I think that was intentional, because what happened was Jewish people after 1945, after the Holocaust, thought, look, we've been oppressed. We didn't have that much support, or they did have support, but couldn't stop it. We had to rely on others. We can't put ourselves in the same situation again where we're going to rely on others. So therefore, we need to put ourselves in a situation where this never happens again. And they thought, wait a sec, who are the 2 people or the 3 people this could possibly happen from again? Obviously, white people, because they've oppressed us for 2,000 years, is their view, and Muslims, because they're, they could disagree with us as well, because they're ideologically driven, and what the ideology could cause it. So they saw these 2 people as threats, and they thought, how can we destroy them? So they thought, look, white people, they're physically strong, right? We can't fight them; they're gonna smash us. But let's
go.
But when it comes to mentally and it comes to ideological belief, they don't have it as much. They're not as strong with it, and so therefore they thought, let's destroy their ideology. Whereas with Muslims, they thought these guys are like physically not that strong, but they're very devout with their religion. It's hard to remove them from their religion, and they thought, let's physically destroy them. And so what you saw was this effort to do that. So with the white people, it was put like liberalism, LGBTQ ideas, feminism, all these things which caused population collapse, caused all of these things in Western society, caused basically the white man to become a lot more feminized, the white woman to not want to be with a white man. Then they looked at Muslims and they thought, how can we do that? And they destroyed and they bombed the Middle East. And I think that's what they've done, and they've taken control in that way.
I think, look, I'm going to be honest with you. First of all, we're going to go get this place. It's a whiskey and bacon place if you want to go with us afterwards.
I don't have either. It's not kosher.
Missing out, man. You're missing out.
Well, we're gonna go after, but that's fine. It's called WB's.
I'll have extra bacon for you. Don't worry. I got your back. I'm piling it up, man.
Well, yeah. Imagine a bacon place in Boca Raton. There'd be like 3 people there all year. No, I'm messing with you, man. No, but like I think these conversations are a little bit beyond what the American right is ready for, because, dude, we have to be honest though, that the Muslims in like London, it's not good for London. Like that's a breed of Muslim, and I admit there are different breeds of Muslim. Like there are breeds of Christians. Like there are like we talk about it. Like there's nothing to me more annoying. Like I spoke for last night for an hour and a half with Elijah Yas, a well-respected theologian who's a little bit less known, but he studied under one of the greatest theologians, which I guess I'm not supposed to say, but it's his mentor, and it's open about it. He's going to talk to him like a monk. And like him, like he was agreeing with me with my criticisms of Catholicism, young Catholics. And like when someone's like mature like that, and they're like you would get along with him too. He's like, yes, and oh yes, Catholic women are like that. Like yeah, it's just like and he's like, because he's a mature man.
There's a reputation, man.
Well, he's a mature man, and he's like willing to admit the faults of his own faith and the faults of the converts, and understands like where the problems lie. And it's like I totally get along with that guy, but I could also see why the American Protestants were originally not into the Catholics coming into the United States, because they are like militant as well. The Catholics are militant. They're like very militant about their faith, right? Where Protestants are more pacifist. And that's kind of like one of our issues with the boomer mindset. We're a little more pacifist and we're isolationists. So we've never really had a lot of war besides our own civil wars here. So, especially in the West, right? It's always been, we had the war of 1812 or whatever when Canada invaded us. But at the same time, which by the way, I'll never forget that they taught us in school to make us not hate Canada, that it was the British that invaded us. They just forgot to tell us that it was actually Canada. It was just the British in Canada, but it was Canada was a British colony and they invaded us. So remember, Canada's not peaceful. They burned our White House down. So I'm just saying, they weren't always laying down in gay positions on singing piano songs. Justin Trudeau, the son of a communist dictator. But I was gonna say, I think all history is a lie, and I just saying with our history that with Muslims, I think I've met really mature Muslims who I do appreciate, but just like other streamers who have recently converted to Islam, and you're like, are you really, you're Muslim, huh? I see that with a lot of Catholics that he actually caused me to stop going to mass for like a month because I was just so annoyed by them. They're like, become Catholic and like Catholic dogma and it's like you don't know anything. Like I started balding before you became a Catholic. Like you know what I mean? Like this is like they're like this is like you don't know what you're talking about. But then I realized and then I start talking to mature Catholics. I'm like, oh, there is a difference between like people who misrepresent it, who claim to be representing it, but they actually don't know. They don't understand. Same thing here. Like, and then you hear like a Catholic we had a Catholic Orthodox debate, and you're like, it's actually so complex. I don't even speak this language, right? You're like, the religion's actually. I don't know anything about Orthodox. I don't know anything about Catholicism. I don't even know if I'm Christian. It actually made me wonder if I'm even Christian, and I realized I'm not really acting like a Christian, and maybe I'm not really Christian. Now I'm like actually trying to become one. Yeah. Hopefully I can and don't fail. And by the way, I want to clarify to people, I'm not going to become annoying about it. It's like I'm a sinner, and it's not like I'm going to be like all of a sudden you're going to find, if you find out I sinned, I'm going to keep letting you know it's going to happen, and I'm here, and it's like my actions aren't changing tonight, So it's like it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm suddenly different. My past is gone. It's like I'm not a born again virgin, okay? I have fucked in my life, and that's not going to be undone by a prayer. But the guilt and shame associated with it can and will be forgiven. It is forgiven by God. So with the Muslims, my kind of question to wrap this up, because we are going to do a full hour tomorrow. We should on October 7th do a special. Is the West wrong about Islam? And I know you're going to be very biased.
No, I'm not. So look,
but are we wrong, or is it a militant? I'm going to go back to that. Is it a militant religion, and should we be careful? Yeah. Can you be honest about it, like the Catholics are? And he admitted it's a militant. Catholics is a militant religion. Is it?
So I'll just give you like I don't think that Islam's an issue, and let me just like give you a background.
Surprise.
No, let me give you a background. So before I became big on X, right? I used to write a lot of articles within Islamic religion and Islamic philosophy, and actually almost all my articles were calling out extremism within Islam. Actually, all of them were, every single one. One of my famous one was when I spoke about this Christian woman who's been oppressed in Pakistan, and my articles and like the work I did basically helped her get released because I was doing loads of drama about like how she was being oppressed. And I talked about extremism within Islam significantly. But then I got into politics and I became I got into X. And then I realized that, like there is this situation where Muslims are attacked a lot. And so therefore I thought, look, they need someone to literally defend them because this is crazy. Like there's no one equipped who has the political acumen as well as the religious background, which I have because I did go to religious school as well. And so I've studied Islamic theology and philosophy and law. So I saw there's nobody there who's doing it in a manner who has that knowledge, has the political knowledge, and is able to like actually get into the specifics. And so that's why I end up like defending a lot of points and a lot of things within Islam. Is there extremism within Islam? Of course there is. Like, for example, my position within Islam is very different to the extreme position. You asked me about Texas, right? I said, what is it you were speaking about? If you said, oh, they have these certain views, I would have been like, but we've got those views in other religions. But when you said actually it's funding, I was like, yeah, I'm right. You're right, right? I agreed with it because that actually happens. And I explained actually the depth of it and the breadth and the circumstances of it. But when people say Islam is a problem, then the question becomes, what do you specifically mean though? So like in London, you gave London as an example. So for example, there are people who are Muslim dawah guys, basically Muslim preachers, who do act in a way that I don't like. So they'll be like, someone will say, like, someone like you might say to them, oh, guess what? You're trying to take over the UK. And they're like, yeah, bruv. Yeah, we are taking over the UK. We're going to take over. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I spoke to them recently. I said, why do you guys say that? When in reality, there's not many Muslims aren't increasing in number. The same arguments I gave against you is that the most immigration is not Muslim. All of these things happening. There isn't huge conversions of Muslims. So when you're making these arguments, first of all, they're not based on reality, and all it does is demonize Muslims. So why are you doing this? So that's the other problem. The other thing is when it comes to Muslims within the UK, my real question about this is like when someone says like Muslims are a problem, like my question is like, what do you specifically mean? If you mean that basically there are Muslims, mainly in the north though, probably less so in London, who are less educated, yes, because they're in working class areas. So working class people, whether they're Muslim or not, are generally not as educated. For example, me. So I came from Middlesbrough, as I mentioned to you, right, which is a northern area. My friends in primary school were white. And the reason they were white was because I was good at, soccer, what you guys call soccer, football. So we just play football all the time. And because I was one of the best, we literally, used to hang around with white boys, right? Now, if you look at my friend group, largely speaking, they didn't go into education. They went into drugs and they went to other things. Now, is it that white people are like that? No, it's not. It's just that we came from a northern working class area. It was very poor. And so only a very few people made it out. I was one of the few who basically got educated, did well, and went down that road. And so is there a problem for specifically Muslims who act in this way? Yeah, look, it's not a Muslim issue. It's more an issue, because this is what I mean when you say Islam's militant. I'm trying to ask, like, what do you specifically mean on that? Because is there
it's they don't come for a better life. They're coming because dude, Muslims have been fighting with Christians since maybe technically 600 AD, but 700-800 AD. And
which is true.
And when you talk about the fall of when you talk about the fall, I forget the last battle when the Polish came to save. Oh man, my history is going down. It's like we have had Ottoman and Christendom fighting for a long time, and so they obviously collapsed, and they obviously collapsed in World War II. So, which is why a lot of Arab countries are barely rebuilding, right? In the 90s and 2000s, or if you look at what Dubai looked like, the city, just 20 years ago, it was like nothing, and you look at it now, and it's also, in my opinion, nothing. But it's
I agree.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of big buildings. It's
I agree.
Yeah.
I prefer American values over Dubai values.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's like pagan values, but for Muslims. It's like a place. It's like a Tel Aviv for Jews. It's like where I feel like non-devout Muslims go.
Well, there's a huge problem with these countries. It's not just that. Like when you look at Western ethics, these people don't have those ethics. Like, I'm not being mean, but if you look at their treatment of others, the way they act,
slaves,
it's basically modern day slavery, all of those things. Like, this hype isn't the reality of what the place is. So when I look at Western society, you know why I love Western society? And I do think it's the best society. I love living in the West for that reason, is because of which I think are Islamic principles, but obviously not everybody holds those principles, is this idea that irrespective of whom you are, irrespective of your race, religion, or creed, all man is equal. And this is actually an intrinsic American value, intrinsic British value. And it's meant to be an Islamic value, but unfortunately, no Muslim countries have that. Because if you look at it, when you look at the protesters protesting for Palestine, it happens in America, it happens in the UK. The biggest protests are in European and UK countries, none in Muslim countries. None. I'll go to a Western country and I'll be there randomly and they'll literally be doing protests. And it's not even Muslims, it's white people, because they have certain ethics that I believe that other people actually don't have.
Well, and I just wrap this up here. I wanted to go for a while you're here because I thought it was important. I think whenever someone's coming in person and taking the time to come out, I don't want to just wrap it up in 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
No, I want to make sure that you have a good hour and 20 minutes. You're coming all the way from another country, you're here, and I think it's important that we respect your time. And I know you were a little bit late. Not in a bad way. The traffic's horrible. The 95. He got into traffic. He's like, yeah, buddy. Sometimes
I hate people being late, and I was like, flip, it's taking
it's so
1 hour
bad.
and 20 minutes to get you.
It's so bad. I'm finally converted to your mentality that it's better to fly out of PBI with a connector flight than to go down to Miami and get a direct. Oh, yeah. It's just better. Just to get to Miami and get through the airports. It's just better to go to the airport, get on, get off, and get on. Spend extra. It's because it literally it's the same amount of time to get an hour layover and an extra 2 hour flight. True. To get to Miami and get a direct flight.
It took me to 1 hour and 20 minutes. And I was I checked last night and it was 45 minutes. And that's why I timed it. And it ended up being.
No. That's why we don't, people up in Boca don't hang out in Miami unless you're trying to go to a sex club or something like that. I'm just saying, unless you're going to live or something like that. I'm just saying right? That's all you'd go down there. Other than that, it's very awkward that I knew that. But I'm just saying, I'm genuinely, you only go down there to party. Seriously. And even if you party down there, you're probably in a hotel. You're not even. And it's crazy. You live in Miami? I'm kind of. I live where the Miami wealth is located, where the banks are located. It's oh, really? Yes. This is the only place you can fish with your nose, The hooks. Watch your back. No, but I want to say that.
But just to wrap up my point, it's just so when I mentioned that, I think that those values are extremely important. That makes them better. Now, does mass migration go against that? Yes, it does. This is why I'm against mass migration. My only pushback always is when people say, oh, it's Muslims, or as Dinesh D'Souza was saying, radical Islam. And you're what do you mean by radical Islam? Because when you're talking about Iran, they're Shia, right? When you're talking about, what are you talking about? If you're talking about Salafist Islam, the US has alliances with Saudi Arabia. And for 50 years, if you look at US, when they couldn't financially spend it with Saudi Arabia, who's helped supporting them. And I disagree with their ideology completely. I'm not Wahhabi, I'm a Sufi Muslim. And so when you look at all those points, you realize that what do you actually mean? These people will never get into specifics. That's why I always ask, like, what does a person mean? Because in reality, it's this vagueness that they use.
But are you British or are you Sufi Muslim? Because you said you're British.
Well, this is the point. This is a very good question. So if you ask, no, but the same question. So if you
I'm wondering, it's not a trick question.
No, it's not. So I'm definitely a Muslim first, right? I believe in my religion more, just like Charlie Kirk. What did Charlie Kirk say? He said God, family, and then country, I believe he said, didn't he?
He probably did. I know it. I'm going to hold from saying that, but I do believe that nothing can change your DNA. I think that's who you are ultimately, but you can be transformed spiritually in yourself. But in terms of like to me, I have more ties to a white pagan than I do to a Christian Nigerian. Now, spiritually speaking, we might have more faith similar, but I'd probably rather live next to a white pagan.
What ties do you have to it? This is a very good question. So what ties do you have to a Christian pagan? Let's say he's
a Christian pagan, a
pagan. A white
person.
pagan. A white pagan. What ties do you have to a white pagan?
Our demeanor, our civility, what our genome expresses phenotypically, like what are the epigenetics of thousands of years of history?
No, I mean in terms of actions. So like,
that's what
for example,
I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying like our demeanor. So like we are going to have more of a polite, organized society, regardless of if we're polytheos or where we believe in one God or whatever. We're still believing in a God and a power head. We're still believing in respecting the elements, that the creation matters.
But did the pagans have that
peace
though?
with each other.
In the past. They were like doing all these mad rituals.
Not all pagans. So there's like not an esoteric.
Like look how the Vikings were acting.
Correct. Not all pagans, but also at that time, most people were acting like that, including Christian nations were pretty war hungry. To this day, what are Christian nations? Bombing the shit out of everyone. So my point is that
that's because the Jews.
Right. But in civil society, I'd probably honestly rather live in a village of pagans to this day in the Dutch land or something like Deutschland than I would rather live in. That's in my modern time. I'm not talking about living in pagans 1,200 years ago, but I'd rather live with white pagans today or white atheists today in a village than with black Christians.
So for me,
that's honestly true.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
at
wrong,
least you've been honest. But like for me, it's this, right? And this is the problem you have, right? So for example, would I want to live with Muslims? Let's just extreme Muslims or people who have these kind of like Salafist Muslims. Probably not, right? But is religion the most important thing to me? Yes, it is. Because when I look at Islam, I look at all the components in it. You've got the theological aspect of it, which I think makes Islam a very masculine religion because it's a very logical, rational religion. It's a monotheistic religion.
I respect that, the masculine nature of Islam. I like it.
But I mean from the logical, rational perspective, not in terms, because Christianity is more so like, it's about like love. It's more about emotion, right? Whereas it has the logical aspect. Then it has certain aspects of the legalistic aspect. And I do believe humans need rules and regulations to follow because if you leave them to their whims, they act mental.
I'll be clear though. I think modern evangelical Western Christianity is about emotions and love, where love is interpreted in the Orthodox and Catholic tradition as judgment, as like the idea of because you love people, sometimes you must punish and you must bring justice. But the more modern interpretations, that's why I think I'm very attracted to the Orthodox Catholic traditions. I think that's why Christian nations have traditionally been nations of war, of conquest, of the building, of beauty, of progress. Not like today's progress of being gay, but like of like infrastructure and science and technology.
Sure.
I do think that we are a masculine religion. I just think that there has been a perversion of it today that has, when we lost World War II, became prevalent. And I think it was 70, 80 years, maybe a little more, of the Schofield Bible and the changes of theology, little changes. But that's why I think young men like myself are attracted not to the young Catholics who are converting, but to what it was, not to where the papacy is today, post Vatican II from the 1950s or whatever, but where Catholicism started and what it was at. So I think there is an importance there. But you can finish your thought.
And then the third component within Islam is the spiritual nature, is the spiritual aspect. Like for example, you have this in Buddhism and these type of things, but we have that within Islam, which is this spirituality. It's the elevation of the soul. It's about being righteous and making sure that the soul elevates and you try and become the best human being you could be. And based on that, your soul, elevates and you connect with God and you become the best person you can be and you try and connect to your creator. So when I look at Islam in all those elements, I think, this is in my view, the right religion. And therefore, if you look at those aspects, you think, you know what, that's what I want to be the best at. So yeah, if someone said to me, look, you have to stop being a Muslim or you can no longer live in the UK, I'd be like, listen, I'll no longer live in the UK because
that's why I said blood is more important than religion, in my opinion. I'm not
no, but
hating.
someone, but
I can turn a white pagan Christian. I can't turn a black Christian white.
No,
you
but
know?
the difference is if you said to a Christian, if you said to Charlie Kirk, you're not allowed to be Christian anymore if you stay in America, and this is it, or you have to leave America. He would, according to what he said, unless he was lying, he would leave America as well. He's white.
Yeah, but there's other places he could go. Like
no, but you're talking about the country.
But if you say you have to give it up, I'm saying I couldn't give up being white either. Like I'm not able to give this up. I would say neither. Like, you don't have to kill me. I would just be like, I would just say like neither. I'd be like neither because I'm not going to live in a black society and I'm not black and I'm not going to do that. So you wouldn't give up your religion though. So then that's what you said. So I'm saying Charlie Kirk would be willing, according to his position, which was God, family, and then country. I want to be careful to not disrespect him, but I do think that his version of evangelical Christianity is
I think
very feminine and soft.
But
That's all.
Same with Catholics. I think Catholics would put God first before country.
Yes, but I don't. But what I'm saying is, I don't think there's a comparison in terms of like, yeah, you said like, but if you would identify as something, I'd identify more as being white, as being German and English, and saying I'm a German and Englishman. Yes, but I also, like, Christianity is foreign to my people. It is not by our nature. It was given to us by God, and it is great. And that doesn't change who we are at our genetics. It doesn't change our identity, but it changes how our value set. Because obviously, you talk about the Romans being raided. It was by our people. It was by like the Germanic and the Caucasoid people. Like we were the wild brutes that were attacking them. Like they couldn't keep us out. They couldn't conquer England. So you know that because we were crazy. It's bog people, the Scottish are crazy. I'm not Scottish, and I don't think I'm Irish. Family wasn't too happy about me marrying into an Irish family, but I, as an English German man, we're born with superiority complex, like even amongst whites. Like it's just true. But I'm saying like I would never. I don't
think white people are though. I think white people are like probably the opposite of that. They're so altruistic in the sense of they don't have supremacy. No, but they've never had supremacy. Like white people, generally speaking, have not had supremacy.
I think Germans and French and English have like theoretically always felt like they were better than each other. And like I've always thought we've always warred because we've always felt like we were superior. I feel like French and English especially. Like I'm currently like, I'm not gonna lie. I was with some college students and he told me he was French and I was like, oh. I'm like, I still don't have like a great feeling towards French people.
And here I am. I'm Irish and French. Irish, French, and Italian. So.
No, but he's like French like myself. Like he knows his pedigree. They all meet together. They like have their family history. But you're you're actually more of a child of the streets, which I get. No, I mean, like, you're not just like some rich. You're not like some like rich French kid. You know what I mean? Who like?
No, I definitely grew up in the streets. Yes.
Who knows his pedigree and is like, we're French and that's our identity and like. You're just like more like a hardened American. I'm more of an American too, to be completely honest. Being a mutt, I'm more of an American. But I think that's where whites kind of took the combination of cultures and kind of created American. So I would say you're more of an American than you would be a French person or an Irish person. It's like
definitely
very American.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think.
But so are you as well.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I totally think I'm more American than I would be.
Yeah.
I don't have a much European mind. We have that fighter's mindset. It's very fighting. It's very. Our liberties come from God. Fuck you. You can't take it away from me. And I think that Anyway.
But then you're American. But American kind of constitution was based on Christianity. So.
Yeah, I do believe so,
Yeah.
and also on common law and
which is from the Magna Carta, which is from Christianity.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that. But also just saying common law in terms of the idea of reason. Anyways. We have to cut it tonight because my people have to go home, and I appreciate we done this like a nice 3-hour stream. Appreciate you guys here. Sulaiman, people want to find you and follow you on X. I'm going to look you up right now on X so we can put it on the screen here. But go ahead and tell us the places that we can support you.
Yeah, X. Appreciate the cheers. They're definitely natural. You can find me on X, and you can also find me on party.com. I'm streaming like a news show every day. It's going to start on the 11th, and then on the 14th, we're going to do like a professional news show, which will be 7 p.m. Eastern. So party.com. With my handle, Sheikh Sulaiman. Check me out.
Here, put him full screen real fast, because I want to get him to get a new. No, put him full screen. I want to get him like a new. Look at the camera. I want to get like a new. Use like. A new picture for you where you're like looking like younger like this with like Okay, we got to get you a picture on there. I'm gonna send you a screenshot.
What do you mean for my
watch,
ex?
wait, stay there. Yeah, watch.
But it's a psychological thing. Like you shouldn't change your ex because
No,
like
no, not even put as your profile picture. Put on your ex. Like, post it.
okay.
Post that you're gonna be on the street. Perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to
Awesome.
you
Surprised
look
you didn't put the image
so
up, Mike.
young in this, it's when people wear hoodies. Dude, the amount of these show I don't get up a lot. I used to get up on a lot of other shows and just like punch my guests and like throw like confetti at them, and we used to have like silly.
you're
stream
so
each other.
different on person. Like I had this kind of impression of you, and you're quite different.
Like, what was your impression?
Without sounding
Say
mean,
it.
I thought you were like a lot more like aggressive. Like we had a very good conversation, but I thought like with Dinesh D'Souza, you were like rough. Like because what happened was I prepped for the show in the sense of I listened to a couple of his interviews and I kind of got that he just makes the same talking points, and so I was expecting him to say the same things to you, and then for me to come and debunk them, and then you were just like smash, and he didn't get a chance. And I could tell he was getting annoyed, and I was speaking to I was like, I don't think he's gonna come back again.
Possibly not. Possibly not.
Then I can give my real thoughts.
Yeah. Anyways, you can follow him there and Snowflake.
You can find me on Instagram as well as X at snowflake_news.
Yeah, we used to dance. People do remind me of that. Also, someone said Elijah's a new background for his phone. that wouldn't be the first.
Now he's not replacing the Braden with his shirt off.
That wouldn't be
He's had that
the
for
first
months.
brown person that was my background in a week or two. Legitimately, I've had a few actually. But that being said, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate the whole crew put the show together. It's been a big day. A shout out to our special. Hopefully that will happen tomorrow night. If it doesn't, if he's too busy or whatever, that's fine too. But I will be on Alex Jones tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time to continue to debate whether. I love how he just agreed with me today on everything. Said that like Netanyahu's the devil and whatever, and then agreed with me on whatever. But appreciate you guys reading. Shout out to the chats. Let me read a couple of the super chats here before we go. Randall Flag for $2 said, "I just wanted Dinesh to know that the demon KKK craps are the real anti-Semites." Let's go. No, by the way, people always say that I'm like much more diplomatic when they talk in person than I am they come across on the internet too. People are like,
you're so nice.
People are like, yeah, you come across like such a fucking prick on X, and then you like genuinely.
I was ready to be like, nah, bro. Like I was ready for like a massive debate, but it was
No,
chill.
I'm like more like I'm just like a drinking buddy, like just talking, hang out.
Chill.
Occasionally, after too many drinks, I'm like, get in the car. All right. Joshua Tries One said, respectfully, Sar, do not redeem those shekels. You also said, that's an overly fed child. Good for her. She's moving around. That being said, also on where's the chats here? Can someone bring up the chats on YouTube?
My laptop died.
Let me see. Top chats. Oh, I can read them here. $10 from Ian B. live in the chat said, Elijah, this is your W. Delicious D'Souza didn't address some of your points on Jewish rejection of Christ and the Antichrist spirit. And that being said, a couple of memes here from the locals, ElijahSchaefer.locals.com. We will have special content starting Wednesday. Sorry, we just went over and I wasn't going to put him behind the paywall because I felt bad to do that. People say this is me reminding them of what they took from us. And also there's a, let me see. Oops, let's not do that. Someone also said this. What kind of boner glasses do you wear? That was a very deep joke that you would have take a while to understand. And yes, those are children's glasses that they had me wear for an interview. I don't know how, this is like 5 memes put together into one. Thank you very much, guys. All right, to the rest of you guys watching, don't forget to follow Mike Mendoza JPG at gmail.com. No, it's just Mike Mendoza JPG. And may God bless the United States of America. See you tomorrow. I'm signing out.